Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Little Rock School District Board of Education Board Meeting. Welcome. It is January 26, 2023, and we want to welcome our stakeholders, our parents, our students, our teachers, and all that are in love with Little Rock School District. At this point, we will have a little inspiration from one of our board of directors, Director Leanne Wilson.
So Mr. Mason asked me to give a word of inspiration. So I am going to read a poem by Morgan Harper Nichols. If you have not heard of her, I suggest you look her up. She's on Instagram. She's fabulous, and she's definitely someone I go to when I need to reframe my thoughts. And she is a female, an artist, a poet, but she also is autistic. And so I find it really inspiring that she can create such moving words, which is not something we typically associate. So, it takes bravery to connect. We're all worthy of love and grace. No matter where you find yourself in this landscape, never forget who you are and all the good you can do. Showing up with love and open hands, and even without words, saying, I see you. This is abundance over scarcity. Even when you do not feel like you have much, you can still show up with love.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Wilson. That was beautiful. That is going to be a feature of my administration, selecting a board director to come with words of inspiration. So now let me turn it over to our other inspirational leader, Dr. Jamal Wright.
I don't have much inspiration to share today, but I will jump right in with with our district celebrations and recognitions. We do not have a VIPS report today, so I will just jump right in with our special acknowledgments for today, starting with just waiting for the info to pop up on the screen. There we go. All right. After pausing the Junior Beta Club activities for about 4 years at Mapleville Elementary, our Beta Club is back. And at this year's state convention, Mapleville Elementary's Ariane Hannah, she earned 5th place in the speech competition, 5th place from all of our students statewide in the Beta Club. So congrats to Ariane, her family, and her principal, Principal Glover. All right, and I had a chance to meet this young man today. We'd like to give a shout out to the 2012 graduate of Parkview High School alum, Mr. Mark Hudson. He is nominated for a Grammy. Let me say that again. He is nominated for a Grammy for his work with R&B artist Chris Brown. Mark has worked with several A-list celebrities like Chris Brown, Cardi B, to name a few. We're keeping our fingers crossed for Mark when the awards are announced next month. The 2023 Grammys will air live on CBS on a very special day, Sunday, February the 5th, which is also my birthday.
All right.
By the way, music runs in his family. His brother is the popular DJ Nick Hud, and his mom, who I learned today, is also a singer who happens to currently work for our district in our legal department. So congratulations to Mr. Hudson, and best of luck at the Grammy Awards on February 5th. I believe this was yesterday or the day before, but an exciting day for students at J.A. Fair K-8 Preparatory School. When royalty visit their school, Miss Ebony Mitchell, who is the current Miss Arkansas, along with Miss Outstanding Arkansas, Kamaya Tackett, they spoke to the students participating in the New Generation Girls Mentoring Program. The young women shared motivational messages with the students, focusing on positivity and mental health well-being. We don't have the fake noise applause, so we need genuine applause. Thank you. All right, moving on, we had 100 Washington Elementary students who excelled in their Lexia reading scores. They received new books and shoes on Friday as a reward for their accomplishments. The effort was a joint literacy project between the school and nonprofit Beautiful Feet, Beautiful Minds. So way to go, and congratulations to those 100 students at Washington Elementary School. All right, and I'm going to take a point of privilege. Is Ms. Steele here?
Yeah, she's right there. Second one.
I'm not going to say what I said to you earlier today. But I read this in my office, and I said, well, they don't have her picture on here. But this is Ms. Steele. I just didn't recognize her.
Shade. Don't throw shade at my girl. Okay, I got you.
But LRSD, we are proud of our Special Programs Director, Ms. Cassandra Steele. She was recently announced as one of the recipients of an education award as a King Kennedy Award honoree. Ms. Steele will be recognized with other recipients during a special gala on February the 18th. So congrats again to Ms. Steele. Maybe kind of hard to read, but congrats to the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program candidates. We have several to recognize this evening. Adam Ahmad, Jessica Dose, Ann Gale, Anu Ir, Aaron Liu, Yobin Min, and Akul Shrivastava, all from Central High School. The U.S. Presidential Scholars Program was established in 1964 by executive order of the president to recognize and honor some of our nation's most distinguished graduating high school seniors. So congratulations to all those students from Central High School. All right, and next, congratulations to Mablevale Middle School for earning its level, let me back up. Yeah, congratulations to Mablevale Middle School for earning its level 1 high reliability school status, as well as to Cloverdale, which is pictured here, Middle School, which earned its level 3 status. And I had an opportunity. Thank you, Ms. Austin.
Make it interesting.
One of Cloverdale's proud faculty members. But I had an opportunity to attend this program, and if you don't know anything about high reliability schools, there are 5 levels, and right now Cloverdale is the only school in the entire state of Arkansas to have reached level 3. It is a very rigorous process that you have to meet various standards and criteria in order to earn each and every single level. And this is just a testament to the fact that, you know, one single letter grade does not define all of the great things that are happening at our schools. And this is just one of many examples. I didn't know much about the process that they had gone through, so sitting here having a chance to listen to their journey. This has been a 3 or 4 year journey, Ms. Austin? Yes. So this has been a long process that the faculty and staff have committed to, and whenever you have staff or body who commits to do something and everybody is working on one accord and in unity, great things are happening at Cloverdale Middle School, and this is just a testament to the faculty, the staff, and the leadership there. So congratulations to reaching level 3, and we are giving you a 1-year period to get to level 5. All right, today, just a few hours ago, actually maybe last week, Senator Chesterfield, one of our senators representing the Little Rock School District area, reached out to all 4 of the Pulaski County superintendents asking for us to give her some names of some educators and students to recognize, because she wants to take her privilege as a state senator to dispel some of the negative myths that may be out there about public education, especially in today's age. And so we were happy to march our way down to the Capitol today. And as you can see, several of our educators and a student from Little Rock School District was honored on the Senate floor in front of the entire Senate and our governor, who just happened to be there. And so she was able to witness and provide congratulatory remarks to all of the students and the staff. We had, of course, Ms. Anu Ir. She was also one of the presidential scholars. She was make sure I get this right, she was also a Regeneration STS scholar, which is the country's oldest, most prestigious science and math competition for high school seniors. And so we were able to recognize her. We know that National Board Certified Teachers is a huge accomplishment, but not only do we have several in our district, we have several who were just recently identified as mentors to help other teachers throughout the state of Arkansas receive their National Board certification. So they were there as well to recognize, and I'm forgetting someone. Oh, we had Region 2 Choral Director of the Year. Ms. Schulmeyer from Parkview High School was there, in addition to, there was one other teacher from Central, the STEM state finalist, who his name escapes me. Maybe if I would have just read this as I was supposed to, I would not have messed this up. Patrick Foley from Central was also recognized. We had a great time at the State Capitol Day, and so thank you to Senator Chesterfield for recognizing the greatness that is in Little Rock School District, and thank you to Senator Love, who was there. You see picture there, and also, yes, Clark Tucker, who was also there to recognize and congratulate our students and staff from Little Rock School District. All right, you may be tired of us recognizing our state champions from Parkview High School, but we're going to keep on acknowledging them. And so we want to thank the City of Little Rock and Mayor Frank Scott, who acknowledged them at last week's City Directors meeting. And so they packed the house out. And I believe we have one more time to recognize them on the Senate floor. They will be coming back with Senator Chesterfield, I think in another week or so, to be recognized once again. So hats off to the Parkview State Championship football team. And last, but certainly not least, as we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the month of January is School Board Member Appreciation Month. And so we are going to take some time today to acknowledge and recognize our 9 volunteers. And let me stress this again for many of you who don't realize that these individuals give up their precious time to govern.
Volunteers.
I was told to say it again. They are volunteers, but they give up their time to govern and to lead in our school district, and we are definitely appreciative of each and every single one of them. And I can say with all sincerity that each of these individuals are extremely committed to the success of the school district, and I am honored to be able to work for them and to work with them. And so we are going to recognize each of them individually. We want to thank Patrick Schroeder from Baldwin and Shell for sponsoring the dinner that we had for them earlier today. And also we want to thank members of our STEM department who put together the baskets that we are going to present to them today. And you also have some prestigious custom-made LRSD cardigan sweaters that did not arrive today, but they are coming, and you will get them as soon as they arrive. So starting with our president, President Michael Mason. Yep. Followed by Director Sandrika Morning. Followed by, in her absence, but we still will call her name, Ms. Evelyn Calloway. Our second poet in residence, Ms. Leanne Wilson. Director Allie Nolan. Director Vicki Hatter. Director Norma Johnson. Director Greg Adams. And our Vice President, Ms. Joyce Wesley.
That's what I was like, I'm gonna have to hide it so I can get it.
Mr. Mason, at the end of point of privilege, the, it is, everybody's looking at me?
Yes.
Well, I'll call, yeah.
All right, that is it for our special recognitions. Turn it back over to President Mason.
Director Hatter, did you want to say something real quick regarding that?
Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. Hey, Little Rock and Beyond. As some of you guys know, this is the week of our state takeover years ago, but looking at us now, on the 26th of January of 2023, and all of the accomplishments that like we have done as a board, I think is a testament to the faith and the commitment, right, of our community, and just really keeping that one LRSD spirit, and so like we can make sure that like we're not just making policy and actions and setting a direction for today, but really looking down the road, because the next few years is going to be very telling, and I've said before, by 2025 we're going to have a smaller, leaner district, but that doesn't mean that like we can't be strong, because a lot of districts and people look to LRSD to be that beacon, to be that leader, because I still believe that like we are the most boldest and the most dynamic district around, and there's a reason on why people reach out to us, and there's a reason on why they ask for us to lead, and then like they for us to provide the cover, and then why for them to be able to do what they do. And so to my colleagues, thank you for your service. To former colleague Jeff Wood, thank you for your service, and then I look forward to doing more great work with all of our colleagues, my colleagues.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right, we'll go with our agenda. Are you ready? Certified PPC. Mr. Austin, are you ready?
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
I have a short report, but I felt like coming in today since I didn't have any reports the end of last year. At the start of the new year, Dr. Wright met with a small group of the PPC where we actually had a great collaborative meeting. A couple of topics that came up from the PPC's end was about the COVID leave. And Dr. Wright explained to us about the budgeting and how we can't bring forth a full 10 days of pay. So he was actually willing to at least credit us with 2 days. That'll help in some ways without having any leave at all. So I will be crafting a recommendation to forward to Dr. Wright, and he'll share it with you all. And you know, some days are better than none, and so we currently don't have any COVID leave in place, but if he's able to extend 2 sick days to help those who have had any type of COVID or respiratory illnesses, and they have that information documented on file, then we would be able to assist with that. We're still kind of working out a little tweak with the sick leave bank, because it won't actually go into effect until the 23-24 school year. So that would not be of service for this particular school year. Our next thing that we talked about is the personnel policy manual. It has to be done by April. So we're going to have our committees to start meeting next month. We have completed the majority of it from last year. I'm going to share that with Dr. Wright so that he can look at the changes that we've tried to bring in that may have caused confusion or something of some sort. So between the COVID leave policy and the personnel policy manual, those are our 2 biggest heavy hitters at the moment. And I'm happy to say that we collaborated just this week with a compensation meeting. So I like the way we're doing things now. I like how Dr. Wright has called upon us to sit down so that we can talk. So by the time everything comes to you, it would have been something that we would have all truly collaborated and have worked on. So I'll get those reports to Dr. Wright, if not tomorrow, early part of next week, because everyone knows the life of a teacher. We have to collaborate, we have to team, we have to attend PLCs, we have to lesson plan, create rubrics, create proficiency scales, grade papers, contact parents, we have to mentor, we have to support our students, and I'm on my way back to a game. We're playing Pine Bluff. So thank you, it's good to see everyone, and good vibes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We got one thing. Yes. That's a beautiful scarf you tied.
Thank you. It was actually a gift, and it was handmade in India, courtesy of Kathy Kohler. Thanks, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Austin. All All right, we'll have our next presentation by classified PPC. They're not here. And no others. Oh.
For
Those-
the Student Advisory Council, we had to cancel our meeting last Saturday due to dental procedure that someone had.
Oh, okay.
So we'll be back in action next month.
Thank you. So it sound like you had someone. So we'll move on to our public comments. Do we have any public comments?
I don't have any names.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
This
Baldwin and
Baldwin
Shell.
Okay.
Shell.
So I'm Michael Hansberry with Baldwin and Shell. I'm here with Patrick today, and we just wanted to come and say thank you to all the school board members, Dr. Wright, for everything that you do, serving our community, serving our children within our community. We know that, you know, we celebrate School Board Appreciation Month only once throughout this year, but we don't want it to go without notice that we appreciate everything that you all do for us and for our children all 12 months of the year. And so we really want to, you know, extend our thanks to you all. If there's ever anything that we can do, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that the only? So the staff was working on a new procedure. We always try to provide 3 minutes for public comment. And in the past, we've had one of our directors do the timing. In the future, as we go forward in this year, we will have a digital clock that everyone, for transparency, we will have a digital clock that everyone just view on the screen. And at the end of the 3 minutes, it'll turn red to let you know, hey, your time is up. We're trying to get proactive and being more modern, coming into the 21st century. So it's a different platform, and it's also provide transparency for our public. So we'll move on to our consent agenda items.
So I know we don't talk about the consent agenda, but I just really want to honor and recognize some of our board members who have outstanding training hours. We get a training hours report once a year, and just wanted to note Norma Johnson. Where's the total number that you had here? 210 training hours. That is incredible.
She's retired.
9, I believe. Yes.
6.
6.
That's
Okay.
what we need.
Yes. Don't forget the second best. The second best is Director Calloway with
Yes.
98.25 hours.
That's
Oh,
Mr.
that's-
Adams.
I'm sorry, that's Director Adams.
He's just playing Greg.
I thought that was a typo, then I realized that, I think that's carryover from my previous service.
Oh,
And then it made a little more sense, because, I couldn't take credit for that.
okay. So let's move on to our consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review the consent agenda? What is your pleasure on the consent agenda?
I move that the Little Rock LRSD School Board approve the consent agenda items as follows. 2022 board training hours, personnel changes, the minutes from the December 2022 meetings, policy 4.63, student requirement to attend a full day, board resolution, continued use of the Iron Way for electronic posting of LRSD invitation for bids, November and December 2022 purchase reports, and donations of property.
May I receive a second? Second. It's been moved and properly second that the consent agenda be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. The consent agenda is filed. The next item on our agenda is school and academic board goal 4 update.
All right, as Ms. Goody is coming up to introduce our distinguished team who is here today, just a reminder to everyone watching, our board approved 4 goals and 2 constraints. In every work session and board meeting, we will have a presentation from the various implementation teams who are working on all of these goals throughout the district. We have the goals, but we have to determine how we're going to achieve them, what we're going to tackle first, and in what order. And we have several staff members who are here today working on Board Goal 4. And so I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Goody to introduce the team and let them take it away.
Thanks, Dr. Wright. Good evening, everyone. I'm not going to talk long. I'm going to cede the mic to these folks behind me. But just as a reminder for everyone, what's Board Goal 4? That is the goal really aligned to staff recruitment and retention. So to read the language, it says increase recruitment and retention rates of highly qualified teachers and leaders, rank among the top 5 school districts in Arkansas in teacher salaries at every educational level by August 2024, and remain there every year thereafter. Ensure salaries of all staff remain competitive. So that's the goal we're talking about, and I think upon first glance that could feel like a HR goal, could feel like a school goal, but I think the reality for this goal is it's really going to take all of us to make sure that we have the highest quality teachers in every classroom, the highest quality leaders in every school, and the highest quality staff and dedicated folks in all of our schools. So without further ado, here's the team. So these are all the folks representing different departments, different schools. You can see them here, and many of them are here today. And so they're going to share with you, I know sort of anxious to hear what are the recommendations, what are the actions we're going to take. But I also want to elevate just the importance of this and the importance of the process of bringing a group of folks together from different departments. I think one of our big goals has been really breaking down silos and bringing more voices to the table. And so just this process in and of itself is a huge success. And also just want to give them huge kudos. This team has been very dedicated. Very, very, very much so. And so I think, Ms. Perla, are you up first? Yeah. Ms. Perla is a teacher, instructional facilitator at Baseline, and also is a Teach Plus fellow. Right, so she's done all kinds of research and stuff in this area.
So good evening, everyone. We want to start off by defining the problem and giving some data and background on recruitment and retention. So as you can see from data in 2011, it is noted that about 33% of current public school teachers do not expect to return 5 years from now. In fact, speaking of Teach Plus, according to a more recent brief published by Teach Plus in November 2022, in the state of Arkansas alone, about 31% of educators leave the profession within those 5 years. So another source found that the estimated cost of this turnover is $7 billion annually. In our district, we have an approximate turnover rate of 10% yearly. So if we want to improve education for our students, we need to do something to recruit and retain highly qualified teachers in our schools.
Good evening, I'm Kelly Cheney, the media specialist at Williams Magnet. As of last week, you see that there were 9 posted certified and 29 classified vacancies. If we follow a similar pattern from last May, we can expect almost 150 vacancies, which will be close to 10% of our certified teachers at the end of the year, with many of these vacancies being in schools that serve students that need the most assistance. Additionally, almost a quarter of teachers in 2020-2021 were categorized as inexperienced with less than 3 years of teaching experience. And although this is not currently a dire situation, these statistics are cause for concern. It is imperative that we address the need for qualified employees now to avoid considerable problems arising in the future.
Good evening, April Reich, Assistant Principal J.A. Fair. Nice to see everyone. Continuing on discussion of the realities, in 2019, an audit was conducted of the HR department, and they identified strengths and gaps at that time. And one of the things that they noted, and we should take into consideration, is that the most important factor for student achievement they found was that relationship with the teacher in the classroom that they're with every day, and also the leadership of the principal. And you can see the gaps that were identified in 2019, and our discussions and research found the same gaps. And you'll see with our considerations and recommendations that we've addressed each one of those. And Mr. Robinson is going to go into more detail to review that audit that was conducted.
Thank you, April. The Arkansas Department of Education desired that Little Rock School District would become cutting edge, a leading HR model for the state of Arkansas. And they employed the Urban Human Capital Academy, very much so known among the great council of schools, a lot of interaction with New York School District, Chicago, all your major school districts. They serve as a consultant, a leading consultant to be cutting edge HR programs in those districts. So the State Department decided to bring in the Urban Academy to work with the Little Rock School District. And we developed 7 major goals from that assessment. And from the 7 major goals, we developed a number of action plans. You have goal 1, the pipeline development, talent management, 11 action steps. And I guess to highlight what that is about, they emphasize that we must look at the pipeline as well as how we're dealing with the talent management of all employees in the district. Pipeline, we looked at our Grow Your Own approach. We already established a relationship with Harding University, also Reach University, and we recently established a relationship with Philander Smith College. So we have a way of working with these schools to provide training, college preparation for these individuals, employees to be enrolled and come back and teach in the district. Philander Smith College is going to establish and fine-tune their relationship working with grades 6 through 12, encouraging students to become teachers. Also, we have developed at the high school level is a teacher academy. So the Teacher of Tomorrow program with Philander Smith College, that will work also as a feeder to the academy. Stakeholders relationship is another goal. They emphasize we have 4 action steps in that area. Workforce culture, they emphasize that we pay serious attention to that. It's hard for customers to love the district if employees don't love the district. Goal 4, we focus on career performance management. We have 5 action steps: HR compliance and policies, HR system and data, driving direction we're moving in, and compensation programs and strategy. One of the action programs steps in that under item 7, compensation programs, is that we should develop a comprehensive compensation study. And we did that. We should continue to look at to be numbered among the 5 highest paying school districts in the state of Arkansas. And I want to say that we have already accomplished that in terms of being numbered beginning salary, one of the 5 highest paying school districts. But we have to continue that. But then when they heard Little Rock driving, so to make that happen, one district decided to step out. Now the starting salary is $50,000. But we have to propose that by July 1, at least we'll have 48,000. We are leading in our market area here as well. And that's just a highlight of the model, the human capital, best practices, overview that they share with us. Thank you.
Mr. Robertson, if I may,
Yes.
This is just a language thing, and I know it's a business term too, like the human capital, which is just staff. But I know, most of our staff teachers, is classified, non-classified, whatever, they have a concern with that, language. And so just for like internal, you know, when we're reporting out, can we just say our staff instead of human capital, because it makes it more human,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Sure. Our language is human resources, and I only reference urban human capital because that's the name of the organization, but we still say human resources.
I
We
missed
not
that.
changed that name to, they talked about us changing the name to human capital, but we did not.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alfreda Johnson, and I work in Information Services. As you may be aware, we have a 3-year plan, board approved for teacher and administrative recruitment and retention. The purpose of our Group 4 is to come up with action items to support this plan and ensure that our work aligns with the goal of this plan. Okay, so I'm Cassandra Steele, Special Programs. Really?
I tell you.
Jesse Lee. Okay, so, right. I'm going to review the slide that is focusing on the Little Rock School District Teacher and Administrator Recruitment and Retention Plan for 2022 and 23. So the focus area, of course, is recruiting a diverse, representative educator workforce that meets the needs of all of our students. The goals are to submit a 3-year recruitment and retention plan to the Little Rock School District Board of Directors to advance the strategic initiative of talent acquisition and retention with emphasis in minority recruitment. The Little Rock School District staff composition will be reflective of the student population, not less than 40% of minority to majority demographics. The set retention goal for full-time staff of no less than 93% for selective employee groups. Develop and to implement long-term recruitment plan via career development and future teacher programs. Next slide. And so our goal 4 with a focus on priority 3, here our pathway is to assess current pathways for development in order to refine, build, and promote internal pipelines and development, to solidify partnerships as needed, and to ensure opportunities for growth. Some of the associated issues with recruitment and retention or with that we have in the district are a lack of highly qualified teachers. Lack of highly qualified teachers leads to gaps in learning and thus leads to students graduating unprepared for the next phase of life, whether it be career or college. Teacher turnover also impacts school culture, often creating an atmosphere of distrust and uncertainty. Professional development and teacher training is an expensive investment that is lost when we have teachers who just leave the profession.
Good evening. My name is Gina Curry, principal at Chico Elementary. So our team is giving you a variety of background information. We wanted to make sure that we reiterate our goal and show you how it aligns to the plan that you've already approved in this area. So we'll start with just our process and focus. Our team was very diverse, represented a variety of sites in different positions within our district. We met multiple times, starting back in October. And what we really wanted to do is not be locked into, we have to fit, you know, this idea or this concept, but be innovative in our thinking, think outside of the box, and put some ideas on the table that could say, how do we really recruit the best people to our district and keep our staff here that we know impact our students so greatly? So this is the process that we went through, discussed and identified the following things that connected to that. What were the specific actions? What was the timeline that it would take for some of these things? How would we monitor our progress on them? And how did it correlate overall to the plan you submitted? And you can see the responsible parties and support that might be needed there. I do want to give a caveat on this that because these ideas were out of the box and not just traditional thinking, in that there are some ideas that we considered that might need more feasibility studies or an assessment of the financial impact, but we wanted to share them so we could see what was possible and then determine what was best for our district. So this slide encapsulates the majority of our conversations. I can assure you they were very robust over these last few months. And because it represents the work of the team, I'm going to ask the team to come up and they're going to share select items with you that we discussed.
Hello again. So we're talking about exit and stay interviews, and we're talking about not just certified staff, we're talking about classified, is talking to the people that are here, like from, it's 24 years next week. Why? Why do people stay in our district? And have that, and have those conversations, and grow that. And then at the same time, why are people leaving? Taking that information about why they're leaving. It could be that they're retiring, but it could be also that they're going somewhere else, or they're leaving the profession altogether. Why are they leaving? What can we do as a district to change the environment to keep more staying?
Then we have these great partnerships with these universities, but we also host interns from UCA and other schools around here, UA, Little Rock as well. And what we want to do is find a way to make Little Rock look like the place they want to stay. If we have trained that intern at our school, then that intern needs to join us and stay part of our team.
Good evening. I'm Barbara Kirkpatrick, Assistant Principal at Forest Heights STEM Academy. I got the fun one, recruitment materials. So when we think about recruitment, we have to have something that we're willing to offer people, something that's different. So what makes us great? And Dr. Wright stole my word. What makes us great? What are some things that we have going on that are great that we need to share for recruitment? One of the things that I thought about immediately, since I've been in several school districts, is because of our benefits. Our insurance, Little Rock School District, many people don't realize we pay more for on our part, the district pays more on our part of insurance than a lot of different districts. That's huge when you think of that. That's not something that we talk about when we're recruiting. Also, we talk about our salaries, and you've heard that tonight. We have very competitive salaries. Maybe people are not aware of that. We also have a variety of schools. If you want to teach at a K-8, a pre-K center, a specialty, a magnet, a high school, we have many different schools to offer people. So that's one thing that we have as well. So coming up with a pamphlet and just highlighting all these great things that we do, hashtag LRSD greatness. We have a place for you. Talking about billboards, we've done billboards before for recruitment of students. Why not recruitment of teachers and staff? Have a group picture of some employees in our district. We have a place for you. Hashtag LRSD greatness. Same thing with little blurbs on TV ads. I know TV time is very expensive. How about just having a teacher? I teach in Little Rock LRSD because, and let them have several different people do that. Things like that, just to make people aware of who we are in recruiting. Why not have these brochures at all the schools? I think about all the people that come in our school in a day. Outside counselors, volunteers, VIPs, parents. We all know somebody that's probably looking for a job in education. Why not give them a brochure? Why not have an area in your school where you highlight a little recruitment area for people? Have them available at community events, at your school events, at basketball games, football games, where we just actively recruit, something that's very intentional.
Good evening. Ashley Sams, Instructional Facilitator at Jefferson Elementary. So, as they discuss this additional benefits, what comes to mind is benefits that are going to help the Little Rock School District stand apart from neighboring districts. Okay, so in looking at additional benefits, some of the options that were discussed were the enhanced tuition assistance, possible loan repayment options, possible care options as well for staff. Those are just to name a few. But in thinking about those, we really want to consider the ones that are going to help LRSD to stand out and stand apart.
Ms. Kirkpatrick, I get the fun one, the best one. Considering bonuses. So our conversation on the committee was around considering referral bonuses, sign-on bonuses, critical supply position bonuses, and et cetera. And when we talk about referral bonuses, we're talking about bonuses that our own employees or our own teachers can get when they refer us to people, perhaps internal, or if they get know of a teacher. For instance, today I got a phone call from a young lady from a school who just wanted to come in and do some observations. And I said, oh, so, and she was like, I want to go in a special ed behavior class, and I'll have my degree in the fall. And I said, well, do you have a job? She says, no. I said, well, yeah, I got one now. So, you know, just like that, you know, someone referred her to me to come and observe. And so we have an employee, hopefully, in the fall. But when employees, we have employees all the time who say, I have a teacher, or if a position is going to be cut and they need a job or they would like to transfer to special education. We talked about adding bonuses. We already have sign-on bonuses. I think we paid $2,000 for new people to critical positions who come to the district, and $1,000 for an incentive for moving incentives. But our employees who have switched from one area to special ed, who already work for us, are not eligible for the bonus. And so we would like to perhaps consider that for those employees who are getting the certification added. They have other pathways of getting special ed certifications now through universities. And if they switch to a critical position, we'd like to consider those people being eligible for bonuses as well.
In addition to bonuses, we would also like to recommend potentially providing equitable compensation for additional roles held by staff in the schools. Things such as SBIT coordinators or testing coordinators, or being the technology point person in your school. We do currently have we have compensation for people who mentor first-year teachers, for example. So something similar for the additional roles that staff hold within the schools.
I thought there was one before me. So I have the improved channels of communication for staff, and I'm glad that this is something that our district is going towards, and for lack of a better word, this is very nourishing, I think, for us as a district. One thing I want to mention is that, and particularly because I work in information services, we just want to ensure that those of us who work in the trenches now have a good understanding of just how these networks will impact how we will deliver our services moving forward.
I had robust mentoring. Hi, my name's Tiffany Lewis. I'm Tiffany Lewis. I'm Forest Heights STEM Academy 3rd grade educator. And I have the luxury of talking about more robust mentoring. As the only member that is a classroom teacher, I think it is imperative they have a more robust mentoring program. Because the first year's teachers' fear is not failure. It is rejection and it is isolation. Mm-hmm. So it is important that we support them to make sure that they make it past that 5 years to 30 years plus. And then also I have developed layers of leadership and career development pathways for staff. Because remember, the teachers of today will be the administrators, superintendents, and potential board members of tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our presentation. Just to summarize, I mean, we could share, you know, a whole lot more. There was very good conversation that happened here, and I just want to, again, commend this team and Mr. Smith for guiding us through this process, and so thank you for having us here tonight.
May I add a recommendation? Because we haven't talked about it, but add a recommendation of creating your own. Students that are going into education from the district that may graduate from high school, Little Rock School District, may want to come back and become teachers. Mm-hmm. So I want to think about developing those students to come back to the school district, and maybe we can help them with tuition assistance. Mm-hmm. As it works. Let me be quiet.
But that's a really good point, because even like at JA Fair, I saw you. I was looking to see if we had another campus. they have city year. And then like that is also a glimpse into the classroom, because those service members, they are serving as partners to a teacher. And so like they're doing the tutoring, the teachers are sharing their lesson plans, and each campus might look different depending on if it's secondary or primary and elementary. But at the same time, that is a really good glimpse in really seeing how the function of a school work, because you know they are going from the classroom to the office to wherever is needed. And so like that is something. I do have a quick question though. With retention, right? Did you guys talk any about some of the more challenged campuses and how to either grow, retain, or move, you know, the transition of that in strengthening those campuses? And two, I'm not asking you guys to get into personnel, I'm just asking you to stay at the treetops to see if you talked about how do you motivate or strengthen those personnels that are in that
I appreciate
situation.
that. Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that question, Ms. Hatter, because we had a lot of discussion about support. And one reason that we found that teachers do leave is they feel lack of support. And I think maybe at some schools you have more support than others. And I think that is something that definitely needs to be addressed, looked at. I think at the more challenging schools where you do have those students that need more, I think more support is needed. And I think that was one thing that we talked about quite a bit is support, because we heard that a lot. We heard that from teachers, we heard it from staff, communications, and more support. We felt that was an issue that needed to be addressed.
And if I can just add, I think we kind of got to some of that with the networks too. So the network structure that you guys have already reviewed is about that support. So we were talking about even in terms of our onboarding of new staff and the HR partners and what that looked like in other organizations like business partners, how having that structure also makes the navigation of through the district and just getting your feet on the ground if you're new, just with so much more ease. And so I think that particular structure will benefit us greatly. So you've kind of got that built in with the process moving forward.
Can I add one more thing? A lot of it starts with culture, right? If we're talking about growing our own, we have to have teachers that say, hey, it's great to be a teacher. Senior, you're about to graduate. Would you consider? And so some of these recommendations that we're making are going to support, hopefully, the cultures in the schools for teachers to be happier about their jobs, maybe talk about it, sell ourselves, and continue to do things like we were just discussing.
I just have a comment about the students that may decide to come back and be teachers. And if they do decide to go off to college, can we just put a personal spin on that and walk with them from day one of college all the way to graduation of college? I think building and sustaining that relationship and showing them that, yeah, we do care, we love you, and I think they would just might come back and be here for the long haul.
So thank you all very much. Obviously, this is a huge issue, and I'm glad to see that you all are working so hard to help us make decisions on this. And I'm curious about what the next steps are, because we have, you know, some ideas that have been thrown out. It sounds like y'all are going to need to work together a little bit more, potentially work with the PPCs about if they're personnel policies, they may have to go through that process. Is the longer term vision to bring back policy proposals to the board to vote on? Is that, you know, where we're headed with this?
Yeah, I think that, and I mean, I would say every time I meet with this group, I want to leave because I leave with a bunch more of things to think about because they come up with such great things. But I think some of their recommendations, I think policies, but also even just practices, like they talked a lot about support, right? So a couple of things I identified really early is like, what is our novice teacher support like? How does that look like across 3 years? How can we beef that up? What are we currently doing that, and what personnel do we currently have dedicated towards that, right? They talked about layers of leadership. So Dr. Wright's been talking about different ways to explore teacher leader positions. We have awesome people in the classroom, and I think sometimes when you're a great teacher, the only thing to do next is to become a school leader. And sometimes we don't want great teachers to leave the classroom, and actually they don't want to either, but what other layers of leadership are there for them? So I think you can expect some of that, but also just expect to see some overview of different practices for us to take on.
And just to piggyback on that a little more, a lot of the recommendations that have come from this group via Ms. Goody to me, you will begin to kind of see reflected even in as we continue to build out the supports within the network structure. You'll also begin to hear us talk about, she mentioned teacher leadership, but we're looking at right now 3 different types of ways for teachers to be leaders in our district, and so we'll be rolling that out pretty soon as well. And so a lot of the recommendations that have come from this group, you'll begin to see reflected in our tiered plan for support. And so a lot of it's being, I mean, they meet, I hear about it, and then I have a teacher advisory group, they say some of the same things, and so we just begin to update our plan and include some of those things in it. I think one of the biggest things I've heard from this group via Ms. Goody is really around, it's hard enough to get teachers. And then when they're new to our district, if we don't have the right types of support systems in place, and I think we've already kind of like recognized the current model of teacher mentors, because we're basically giving a stipend to somebody else who's working full-time all day and don't really necessarily have the time to provide the support. And so we're already looking at some things to kind of do differently for next year. And so every time they meet, I hear about some of the stuff that they're talking about, and so we're already beginning to address some of those things in our plans moving forward for the upcoming year.
And Dr. Wright, with the plans, would they be more of the step process on getting that to where the board will have a clear idea of what the plan is, not just from a policy standpoint, because you can't make policy without knowing the plan and the course of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how will we get more, I don't want to say substance, because you guys did some tremendous work, really. But the plan, I know, I can't remember who said it, talked about timelines and being able to measure it to see if it's working, to make sure that like we have the right staff, in the right building, creating the right culture and climate. And so that is kind of within that realm of what you guys are talking about, because we have leaders, school administrators among y'all, so. Okay, amen. I pause.
I'm gonna very quickly, I just want to mention, so Mr. Mason threw out a suggestion. I'm going to throw out one of my own that I hope that y'all will consider to possibly incorporate, which is you talked about exit interviews and stay interviews. I would love to see some sort of crisis intervention when you have someone who is thinking about leaving, have someone that they can contact and say, I'm having a problem and it's making me think about leaving the profession, and hopefully we can intervene before we get to the exit interview stage. And one thing I wanted to share, I'm sure that y'all have probably seen this, but the NEA did a survey. It came out February 1st, and it showed annual numbers of people leaving the profession that matched the numbers that you all showed, but it showed 55% of current teachers were considering leaving the profession this year, right now, which is alarming. So anything that we can do to step in and intervene when someone is having, so many obstacles that suddenly they're considering leaving the profession, we need to step in and try to fix that.
Let me ask.
6 of those phone calls in the last 2 months from teachers that are ready to walk out the door. And I'm trying to talk them down off the ledge.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I had experience this past week with a very similar situation. Principal tried to talk to the teacher. I reached out to the teacher. It's tough.
I have a question. I guess I'm going to look at it from a different angle. So teachers are leaving the profession. They're retiring probably early. Is it because they're unhappy, or is it because maybe the dynamics of the students have changed and the way they used to do things are not actually working like they used to, and so they're kind of like...
It's a plethora of things. It's exactly what you said. The children from the 80s are not the children of today. Right. It's also people are retiring. It's also just the frustration and everyone said it, the lack of teachers feel unsupported. And I feel like if I did not say that, I would not be true to my profession and to my colleagues that I just left 3 hours ago. So it's important that I absolutely love being on this committee because it's important to have that voice that they don't feel supported. And speaking to Mr. Smith, it's also that if we talk to them, I feel like we'll talk them off the ledge, but it's a plethora of things, and everything you said is exactly why they're leaving.
So when you think about a mentoring program, you should have it as a diverse, maybe an older teacher with a younger teacher or a male teacher with older, younger, and so they can actually.
I feel like I'm a unicorn. I have a wonderful administration staff. I have a wonderful facilitator who has acted as my mentor. But when I speak to my colleagues at other schools, that's not the case. That's not the story. They are feeling as if their mentor, if they receive a mentor, doesn't really see them. And so I really want to make sure that they feel like I make sure that and they were like, Miss Lewis, make sure you tell them. And I was like, I'll tell them. I don't know how it's going to go over, but yes. If we have a more robust mentor program, making sure they get mentoring from day one, not day 365. Make sure there's someone there to support them in the classroom, understanding their concerns. I feel like that year 5 will turn into year 30 plus.
Like my niece would say what you just said.
You know, Ms. Lewis, I have a question. Well, it's for everyone, really, but you did bring up an interesting point, Director Johnson, is that our students are different, and so if our students are different, they are learning different. They are not able to sit in a lecture style class. They really need those hands-on and that experiential, experience learning and all that. My question is, and it's a very broad question, not targeted at anyone. How is the teaching profession changing to meet the needs of today's students, to where it is a match, or even a hybrid? Yeah.
It's amazing because there's so many. One thing that Little Rock School District does amazing is provide you tools to teach your children. We have so many. If you look at our curriculum map, we have so many links on how to reach if the child. And when our PLCs, we have those 4 questions. What's happening if they do understand it? What happens if they don't understand it? How are we going to support them? So it's so many tools. But think about it. It's a 6-hour day, and then you have to look at all of those tools and pinpoint it for all 24 or 105 of your children. So while we have all of these tools, we have to make sure that we can implement all those tools. And technology, another thing the Little Rock School District is on point with, is providing technology. Even if it's not the technology that everyone wants, and they're making the steps in the right direction. So we are meeting those students, we have the tools, but if we don't have the support to make sure that we can look at all the tools, make sure that we can also look at and make sure they're matching all the children, and making sure that we have everything they need, and make sure that we're telling parents how to use them. A big gap is that we know how to teach the children, but who's our number 1 teacher? Parents. So we have to bridge that gap as well. So if we can meet all those needs and then meet all the other needs that we know they're in the back that we haven't talked about, I think that that'll bridge those gaps.
Thank you.
But see, we've got to also talk to universities, because universities are still teaching prospective teachers the way they taught them 10, 15, 20 years ago. And those strategies don't always work today. So we can do tons and tons of stuff, but if that intern, if that prospective teacher has come with this set of ideas about how school is, and then they get into that student teaching and it's not that way, it takes a lot of heavy-duty mentoring to get them to stay. So some of this is going to have to be conversations with higher ed to let them
change their way of thinking to the reality of today.
You know, you bring up a good point. That's one of the things they talked about at the National School Board Association conferences about the importance of K-12 or P-12 talking. Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking to you. Hey, Lil Rock.
Just having a
and beyond.
conversation.
Okay. But seriously, at the National School Board Association conference, that is what they were talking about, and talking about how important it is not only for school board directors to talk to higher ed and legislators about changing the curriculum, but also bringing along our administrators and then our teacher leaders to have the conversation right as a collective, and so like they're able to truly see just how classroom have changed, how students have changed right since that curriculum was developed. And so if that's something that, well, you guys are already talking with several different colleges, and so like you guys, it's good to know. It is one thing to think it, right? But it's another thing to see it and in the mind in action. And so it feels really good to know that we meaning LRSD, are already on that path to meet our students right where they are. Thank you.
You know,
so much.
I am really liking this. I have one more thought. Have we considered, or will we consider, maybe one of the campuses that we referenced was Hardy, Reach, and Philander? Maybe we could send a teacher into their classroom to see if they're on point, or maybe we could tweak some things for the teacher if they will allow it.
For universities to change what they're teaching, it's a long process, because they have to propose that change to their department, then to the university. I mean, you know, there's several layers of changes that have to be made. But I think it's a conversation that y'all could have.
And I'll just quickly add, like, just from thinking about where to enter and how to move people into teacher roles, we, actually, Dr. Wright just signed off on an MOU with UAPB that allowed our campus to go ahead and hire in for a vacancy we had as a paraprofessional, but this individual is in the teacher preparation program needing to complete their internship. So we structured her day where she's assigned to her mentor teacher, but then also is able to do her paraprofessional duties. And the hope is, right, when this individual graduates, they may leave that role that they currently have in my building, but they'll enter a classroom teacher role, hopefully in Little Rock School District. So thinking like that and extending kind of like how we see it, and not just traditional teacher preparation when they graduate, moving to a teacher role. How about now in other roles? So I thought that was a really good move on their part, and thank Dr. Wright for signing off on that agreement.
And I think that's a great segue to add that we also, as we talked tonight about certified, the discussion also centered around classified staff. So it wasn't just teacher, but it's how do we grow our entire staff. And Ms. Wesley got an opportunity to see that in Washington, how they were utilizing their classified staff to support instruction, support the systems in place. And that's part of the discussion this group has had as well. But I just wanted to come up and thank them publicly. They give up their evenings to meet with me and share these ideas, and made it easier for me, and I didn't have to present. Just work through the PowerPoints with them. They don't get paid to come and meet with me, but they did hear about the sweaters that you all are getting, and one of them already asked for one. So it seems like I'll be ordering some sweatshirts for this group, but they have been a pleasure to work with, and it is refreshing. And what Mrs. Lewis didn't want to say is she was talking about the caliber of students. This is one of my former students, so it makes it really good to see. She had help though, great family, but our family at Right Cell also helped her as well. But I want to thank them publicly for all of your work.
Mr. Smith, let me check and see. Director Calloway, did you have? She gone. Okay. Go ahead. Well, we can continue on. Director Calloway, did you have a question?
I think she's muted.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm unmuting myself now. No, I'd like to congratulate you all on actually taking this up this mantle. But I missed part of the meeting, I'll be honest with you. And are you all Willie, are you talking, in this program, are you all talking about having student teachers to come to, the Little Rock School District to do student teaching? Is that still a thing? Okay,
Yes, Ms. Calloway. Also, some residency conversations are happening too.
right, okay. Because I think that we could probably extend our whole, idea beyond state, beyond state borders, like to other schools in different districts. I mean, other schools in different states, neighboring states, and have an active program for, teacher recruitment. You know, back in the Stone Age, one thing, when we got out of we did our student teaching and whatever, and we were graded, and then we would have fairs to recruit. Like, for instance, you could have somebody from personnel to come down and recruit and tell them what's good about Little Rock School District. And I really think that this group would be an excellent group to do that. I do. So I like what I've heard, and I did want to say that.
Thanks.
Okay.
And I'll just like say, Forest Heights, we
Thank
have
you.
3 student teachers in our building right now, and all 3 of them, we're hoping, you know, that they can be a part of Little Rock School District, because they're really good teachers. We have to do a little push with them every day about that, so.
Bringing the donuts.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Great job. I think that's the best presentation we ever had.
My feelings are hurt.
Oh, you
Well, let us move on to district report card and school designation update.
All right, we'll make this very brief. We just wanted to make sure that our board was aware of our any changes with regards to, we know we had school grades, but we had district report cards that were just released a couple months ago. And some designations for schools have changed since we haven't officially tested since 2020. So we just wanted to make the board aware of these changes. So we have Dr. Robinson, who is joining us by Zoom from our Data Assessment and Accountability Department, and she's going to walk you through this presentation.
Yes, good evening, everyone, Board President Mason, board members, Superintendent Dr. Wright. And before I begin, I would like to say to the board members, thank you for your service. I believe Dr. Wright has provided you all with the notification of our district and our schools accountability status, but the district report card and school designation, I'll be going over an update with you. The district report card was released on December 30th, 2022, and it provides an overview of district characteristics and demographics. There's 3 years of data, the ESSA indicator, achievement, growth, SQSS, and that is the School Quality Student Success Indicator, graduation rate, school environment, and teacher quality. For the district report card, all data has been previously shared, but what's new is the graduation rate increase. In 2020, we were at 78.38%, 2021, 79.48%, and 2022, we're at that 80%. So the school designations in your packet, in the agenda, you would notice that there are some acronyms for these. So schools in need of comprehensive support and improvement, which is CSI, are Title I schools whose ESSA index scores are at or below the lowest 5% of ESSA index scores in their grade span. Also, we would like to note that unfortunately, no matter how much title schools improve, there would always be a bottom 5% with this criteria. Beginning in the 22-23 school year, any school identified as CSI prior to 22-23 and not meeting the exit criteria will be identified in need of more rigorous intervention, comprehensive support, and improvement. In Little Rock School District, we have the designations for the schools that are in need of more rigorous intervention, comprehensive support, and improvement. We have 5 schools. And also, I would like to note that the asterisk behind the schools are the Little Rock School District schools identified as priority schools. So we have 5 schools. They are Vail, Stevens, Washington, Cloverdale, J8, Farrakhan 8. Schools in need of comprehensive support and improvement are Baseline, Mapleville Elementary, King, Watson, Little Rock Southwest, Dunbar, and Mapleville Middle School. We also have schools that are designated in need of additional targeted support and improvement. These schools have at least one subgroup consistently underperforming at or below the bottom 5% of all Title I schools.
Dr. Robinson, can you give an example, or can you give an example of what is a subgroup, or the different types of subgroups?
Yes, sir. The different type of subgroups that these categories to identify the schools could possibly be students with disabilities. It could be the African American subgroups. So
Economically disadvantaged.
Yes, disadvantaged as well. And each one of these schools were categorized for low performance of all students. So those are just a few of those subgroups. Yes, sir. So beginning in the 22-23 school year, any school identified as ATSI prior to 22-23 and not meeting the exit criteria will be identified as in need of comprehensive support and improvement, additional targeted support and improvement. And that would be the CSI ATSI identifier. We also have schools that are in need of comprehensive support and improvement, additional targeted support and improvement. We have 13 schools. They are Baseline, Booker, Carver, Mapleville Elementary, King, McDermott, Otter Creek, Wakefield, Watson, Western Hills, Dunbar, Mapleville Middle, Gillespie Heights Middle. And the schools that are in need of additional targeted support and improvement, we have 2 schools, and those are Brady and Mann. So all identified schools must demonstrate upward progress on the ESSA index score over 2 or more years for all subgroups. Those are the MRIS, CSI, CSI, and CSI-ATSI are subgroups for the ATSI, and they must exceed the 2022 ESSA index score in 2025.
Dr. Robertson, for the listening public, can you say what these acronyms are, please?
Yes. On the slides, the MRI, CSI are schools that will receive more rigorous intervention, comprehensive support improvement, and the CSI are comprehensive support improvement. CSI, ATSI are our comprehensive support and improvement, additional targeted support improvement. And the ATSI is additional targeted support and improvement.
Thank
you. Prior to COVID, it was really just CSI and ATSI. And then once
Yes.
schools,
Hey Siri.
after several years, didn't exit those categories, now we've created, we added the MRI to the CSI and the CSI to ATSI, which makes it sound so complicated, but it's really,
But
yeah.
So I have a question about the exit criteria, because it's just like you said, that's complicated. The exit criteria is complicated if it's continued to change, which it has changed multiple times over the years, so it's a moving target. So how are districts, particularly Little Rock School District, supposed to meet an exit criteria that is constantly changing? And then once we think we're on mark, we're not on mark because something changed. And so I'll just say it, I definitely, as an elected board member now, don't want to be back in the situation we were before. So what is the comprehensive plan to move these students, and then what is the state wanting this district to do, and then is that in writing?
So I'm gonna answer the,
So part of the
Before you
question
answer.
is for,
Before you answer, Director Calloway? Thought I heard her.
oh,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Restate
part of the question is, really, we're gonna try and do what they ask us to do, right, like we've been doing. But we need to make sure that, like, they understand what they want us to do. So, is the exit criteria they have for us in writing, and have it changed?
so I'm gonna try to explain this as clear as possible. So the ESSA index score criteria, you have to show improvement for 2 or 3 years consistently in order to move out of or move up from these levels. So that in and of itself hadn't changed. That criteria hadn't changed, but how your ESSA index score changed, that has.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
And it's gonna change again once we do a new assessment after this year. But I think the bottom line is, we've got to get all of our schools on a path to improvement regardless of if the criteria changes or not. I think the reason why we have schools that have moved from regular ATSI and regular CSI to now MRI, CSI, and CSI, ATSI is because regardless of what the criteria has been, there hadn't been enough progress, which rolls over to the total ESSA index score. And we know that for middle and elementary and high school, it's different stuff. But the bottom line is, we've got to show improvement. And if we show improvement and it impacts our ESSA index score and it improves over 2 or 3 years, then that's enough for our schools to improve.
So is there a individual school plan all the way down, even if it needs to go all the way down to the classroom? Is there a plan to move which I'm still, I'm really looking forward to the tiered system you have for instruction. But is there a plan for all 21 schools?
That is the plan. And as we continue to add layers and complete it, that is a plan. And the fact that we have so many of our schools in Little Rock School District that is in one of these categories, to where it doesn't necessarily need to be an individual plan per se. We've got to do some systemic work at our level, the district level, and some systemic work at the school level, which is what the tiered support plan, when it's completed, will address all of those different factors.
And will the board get substantial reports on being, because like we will need to be able to measure the improvement, and so along the way, like every quarter or a semester report, we will be getting those reports on those 21 all of our schools, but targeted our 21 schools.
As soon as we get the right types of assessment system and assessment strategy completed in our district, to be able to, first of all, we can't report to you what we don't know ourselves.
Absolutely.
So, but yes.
Which I know you're in the process, so I just wanted to ask that question.
Yep.
That I knew the answer to.
Superintendent Wright, on slide four, you have Booker. So can we subtract that one school from that 13?
Yep, that was just an oversight.
Okay, thank you.
Good catch.
All right, any other questions? This is not an action item, this is just a report?
Yes.
So we move on to the next. Are we ready for Chief Deputy to come in?
Yes, we are.
No, I'm not planning on it. My voice not there. I'm usually on some Mucinex by now.
You're making us
Keep from coughing,
nervous.
so I'm trying. No, I'm good. If I can get plugged in here real quick, so I may sound a little nasally, but I'm gonna bring Mr. Yarberry up a little bit later to talk about facilities. Let's see if the lectern is active, maybe so. Y'all doing okay? All right, great. We'll get some excitement going on this financial presentation here.
Right.
Give it. Talk that money.
More money,
Where the
more
money
money.
resides.
More money, more money.
Yeah, more money, more problems sometimes, that's what they say. But financial reports here, typically the same here. We'll go through a few other things that may be a little more exciting here, but as we get down to our revenue update, I'm gonna make it a little bit larger here on the screen here. So local tax collection still tracking well and likely to close close to our budget projections if all fares well for this second half of the year. So the first half you can see here, and this report is through December 31st. Our property tax, our main collections, we end up collecting almost 91,000 more than we actually had projected. On land redemption, we were up by 87,000. And our random report, revenue in lieu in taxes, up 65,000. So that's very positive. So we pretty much have hit all those targets for the first half of the year. So that's great. All right. Thank you, taxpayers.
Yes.
As far as our expenditure data, and you saw some of the reports in the previous report that they actually gave on as far as vacancies out there. We're still tracking quite a few vacancies out there, and this has created some savings out there for us as well. So I'm projecting right now, just by looking at it, possibly about two and a half, maybe $3.5 million of savings in our salaries and benefits section there, just because of the vacancies there. Other expenditures seem to be tracking with the original budget with a few adjustments. We still have to continue to adjust some accounts for 63,470 and 64,500. That's our architect and construction projects. As we bring different projects to the board, as we get different projects off the ground, those are budgets we actually adjust accordingly based on our
Chief Deputy, could you repeat that first bullet? Because I don't think they heard that.
Oh, yeah, the salaries and benefits. We'll probably eat it up later, but salaries and benefits seem to be coming in under budget by I'm saying about 2.5. I'm projecting 2.5 to 3.5 million based on what we're trending right now. So I don't foresee us hiring an onslaught of folks. It's still hard out there to get people. So I was actually talking to my security director today, asking about some vacancies we had, and we had 11 people apply. He was able to contact 7 with good numbers. Out of that, well, he was able to contact 7. Those 7 agreed to an interview. I think maybe 3 showed up, and out of that 3, we didn't have any applicants, so they didn't qualify. So it's hard out there. So some of those vacancies will still be out there. So why you look at me like that, Dr. Wright? Operating fund balance, we're still good. And remember, the operating fund balance and fund balance is a snapshot in time. It's just measuring how much revenue you brought in and how much expenditure you had in over that fiscal year. So this is not where we're going to end at. It's healthy right now. It's about $63 million. I think last month you might have been close to $90 million. But our capital improvement fund balance is going down slowly but surely, $160 million now. And that's, the money we went out for to our voters. So we brought in a little over $200 million. We have another $100 million authorization out there. So hopefully the market will be favorable when we go back out and try to get those funds. Federal fund balance still is not, it was actually negative last time. We were waiting on a reimbursement, but we're positive almost $1 million right now. And of course that's on a reimbursable basis. And child nutrition is still very healthy out there. So Ms. Walker-Hines, her staff, if you've been to probably Parkview and probably Central, you've probably seen some new cafeteria tables and different things. So that ordered a lot of equipment trying to get those things in. Just like anything else, it's long lead times on most of the things we order now still because of the supply chain demands and stuff, so. That's pretty much it for our, as far as our overview of our actual financial statements. If y'all have any questions, I will entertain them.
I have one quick
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
And it's a question that we've talked about multiple meetings, which is the end of ESSER funds and being prepared to deal with that ending and being able to, you know, carry over in terms of if we have staff and personnel that are being paid out of those funds and having a plan to address that once those end. So can you just speak to how prepared we are for for maintaining that once those funds are exhausted?
So we have a little while longer on our ARPS. So this is just kind of overview of where we kind of started. This is a total. We got almost over $100 million in actual ESSER funds, whether it was through CARES, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and those both are all expended right now. And we have 64 million, a little over 64 million for our, what we call ARP ESSER. Excuse me. So combined right now, if we look at ARP ESSER, I'm gonna go down to the bottom and kind of show you where our spend is at. So right now in fiscal year 22 was our first year actually spending in our ARP ESSER. We spent about 14.6 million, if you can notice right here, and I just updated these numbers today. For this current fiscal year, we spent about 27.6 million so far, and we have what's called encumbered 2.8. So basically our remaining balance right now just on available funds is a little over $20 million. We actually have allocated, and this can come off, I believe now, Dr. Wright, this extended day for K8. So I'm gonna put a 0 right here real quick. It's magic down there. So basically what we talked about, I think on the last board, man, we pretty much have about $13.5 million. Somebody say something?
No,
Okay.
it's cough.
Okay, $13.5 million that still can be allocated toward other, you know, items up there. So if we scroll down, you can kind of see the things we've actually done. And all these, and while the balance is different between the 13 and 20, we hadn't paid all these bills up here yet. So some of the things are still pending.
That line item that says personnel, that's the one that I want
Yeah.
to make sure that when these funds are exhausted,
Yeah.
we have a plan for addressing those,
Yeah.
those
And I think that's a
salaries.
big part of Dr. Wright's network, his 3 network things, so those will be addressed, so, yes, ma'am. So we still have some money to spend out there. I'm sure we'll have some plans brought before you, and we won't let in this money get away from us, because we have a lot of needs out in the district still, so. We have through September 30th or 24 to actually obligate these funds, so.
I want to just remind everyone too that we did kick off our tutoring pilot this week, this week, I couldn't remember. All 5 of the companies that we have working in various schools, and so 4 companies working in various schools. And so we are anticipating, when we get the results at the end of this school year to see how some of those interventions are working, we do anticipate really expanding that, especially at some of our elementary schools, if we find that either one of these approaches are really working. And I know we're just in 1 week, but we are seeing some. I can say we are seeing our schools really being committed and doing the things necessary to make sure that the students who need these tutoring intervention services are really getting it. And so I'm excited. We've got a plan in place to begin monitoring progress as early as in the next week or so. And so we'll be with Go School Box. So we've got everything in. We're looking at the progress. And so some of the excess money that you see here will be eaten up if we expand some of these tutoring programs to other schools all year long next year. So.
That concludes my financial report, unless y'all have any additional questions.
Are you gonna talk about buildings?
We are, that's on a different.
Okay,
I think
that's what I
y'all gotta
thought.
take action on this one
Okay.
first. I'm ready though.
I'm sorry, I just put you all together, honey. Well, chief,
Sir,
I don't want people to, I know him.
You're fine.
Okay, you wasn't offended, were you?
No, no.
Okay, just need to be clear. All
all
right.
right. Directors, what is your pleasure on the December 22 board financial report?
So I move that the Little Rock School District School Board accept the December 2022 board financial reports as submitted.
A second.
It's been moved and properly second. Ms. Wesley moved and Director Director Wilson, I'm sorry, Director Wilson seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
So we're gonna be doing a facility update along with the vacant property. Can I pull up the vacant property first and then we jump into facility? So, that'd be kind of seamless with Mr. Yarberry here, so, let's see here. So I think we did this update, maybe I forgot what month, but it's been several months, but needed to update you all as far as, the status of some of our property that we currently have that we're not, currently utilizing. So the first one on the list is what's called formerly David Little Dodd Elementary here. So, before we got approval, we had actually accepted offer on there. They went through some due diligence and end up, let's see what date was that. They end up terminating the contract this month. So, it went back on the market. We had some more folks have been interested the whole time. So we got another offer in. We're still going through that negotiation. So should be following up with, Mr. Mackey on tomorrow to kind of see where we are as far as those negotiating terms. So hopefully we can get that one closed out. Other ones, we have these lots out over there on Albertson Street. So the airport is interested in the property. We're waiting appraisal right now from the airport. So based on the appraisal, that should go under contract. So, hopefully over the next month or so, we'll get that appraisal back. The little piece of parcel that's across from David O. Dodd and kind of in that triangle there, we had several people interested before we put it up for sale, because they kept calling us, but we put it up. No one's really brought anything to us yet, so no offers yet, but it's still listed for $175,000. Bryant Street, that's formerly the Southwest Junior High, used to hold Hamilton Academy as well. Currently, it was being used as excess furniture and custodial supplies. We've actually cleaned it out for the most part, I think. Gym was still being used for wrestling practice for Central. The overall plans is that become a welcoming center and actually bring in some multiple departments. I think maybe student registration, possibly adult ed, and maybe SPED, and maybe some early, keep going some other places there. So we'll get some use on that. That one was pretty much exempt from, and we'll talk about the other becoming available for charter schools because it's within 500 feet of an existing building. So it would adversely affect, I think, based on the law. So let's see here. Barber Street, Booker Elementary. Building contents we actually auctioned off in December 22. So that's something required by state. If we have excess contents, we put it up for auction. So typically sell for pennies, look like in most cases. So most of our stuff is well used by the time we get to auction. So current lease with the city expired December 31st, 22. So we're scheduled sometime here in the near future to meet with city officials to determine the future of the site. Since we own the building improvement, they own the land. So we have to do something. It would be probably good, something for the community. So we'll see.
So will the, since that's property and that falls within the realm of the board, then the board will also be a part of that and weigh in?
Yes.
On whatever those plans are, which I know y'all
So
talking about
this one is a gray area. I guess we'll list it on our facility update as underutilized or however the state may classify it, but I don't know how it would be available for, charter schools at that point. Because the original lease calls for us to actually tear down any improvements on there based on that 62 lease on there. I don't think anybody want to see all the improvements on that ground torn down, us or the city. So I think it has some future use for something. So
Have they not removed the playground equipment? Didn't I?
we did, yes, that's
You
part.
moved it to another school or yours?
No, that was actually auctioned off, right? Did y'all move a piece?
Yeah, so anything that we did move, did go in the auction.
So we do try to utilize some of that playground equipment to other places if it's something that was fairly new, and it's expensive to move that stuff. Because it's very well installed.
And Chief, our Little League teams, I think the Wolf Pack, well anyway, Pee Wee League team, our independent football league team, they also utilize that field and the track, and the community utilize that track. And so like that is still open and taken care of now for them to still utilize that, correct?
Yeah, it's still available. So yeah, I think I saw somebody over there walking the other day. So yeah.
Okay, and maybe any talks that we have, I know you said you guys are gonna talk about making it a community space, but making sure that like they too have a space.
The city official that we've been talking to is definitely interested in keeping that space available for community regardless of what happens to the building, so.
Right now, Meadow Cliff, no action has been taken on the property. Of course, we boarded the building up, gone by and tried to keep any trash cleaned up. I think we're trying to probably limit access to driving around the building some, so that's one thing. I was over there a few weeks ago. We had somebody had dumped some trash there on a few spots, so I think you all got that all straightened up the same day or maybe the next day after, so something we can try to curb that. So the big part on here I want to show you as far as that, because we've had a lot of questions about Meadow Cliff, is pretty much our policy and state law here. So this is our policy, and it reflects what's in state law. So if you ever want to go out there and look, it's in section 7, but it's section 7.13. I'm gonna scroll down. This just kind of tell you what property and different other things. We'll go down to disposal, surplus property. So, and basically it states here, the board of directors recognize that real property it owns sometimes become no longer useful to the district and thus meets the policy definition of surplus real property. And this talks about by February each year, the district shall submit a report to the Division of Public School Academic Facilities and Transportation Division that identifies any underused and underutilized property. So, and basically at that time, once that list is published, it becomes available for charter schools. So they have 2 years of first rights of refusal. So at that point, I think on DOT, after 1 year, we petitioned a waiver to ask that we didn't have anybody that came forward that said they were interested. I think they had to put another notice, so they granted us an earlier waiver after a year, I believe, maybe a little more of a year. So, but right now, for anybody that's interested, the first right of refusal goes to a charter school to get it either leased at fair market value or purchased at fair market value. So that list won't be published till March 1st, I believe, and I think that's when that date actually starts at that point. So we still have the building probably for at least another year. If we can probably petition a waiver from ADE at that time to shorten that period, whether it's granted or not, I'm not sure. So up until that time, a charter school has a first right of refusal, basically. So nothing we really can lease out or sell or do anything, so.
I have a question regarding that. So I know we've been talking about solar energy. Is that property, how can I ask this question? Can we use that property to put a solar array on it?
Probably could put some type of array on there. You would have to actually, so if you put one on the building, since it's still first right of refusal for charter schools, you're gonna be putting some on, you could put, if you put it on the building, anything on there. So charter schools still have first right of refusal to the property because it's not being utilized for educational purposes. So it's gonna be underutilized. So basically how they look at it, if I have a school that has a capacity of 2,000 students, I only have 1,000 students in there, I have a portion of the building that's unutilized. So actually, they can actually request to actually use a portion of that. So when a building is vacant, you wouldn't want to make an investment over there when it may change hands. But it's not enough acreage there. What is that, like 15 acres maybe? Yeah, we have a solar RFP out now, but you're gonna need a whole lot more, yeah.
You know, with that, I'll pause and keep it for board. Are you gonna be here for board comments at the end?
I think so, if I'm not coughing.
Okay. Okay, because it's on
Yeah.
solar, but solar's not on the agenda, so I'll wait until board comment to say it. Question on the building though. So we're not using it for educational purposes, which means that is educational purposes are students in that building, or else is educational purposes we are using it for students to go there for specialty classes and things like that? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what does that mean?
I believe for intended purposes of a elementary school, which it was I guess deemed at that time excuse me, K6.
K6.
So yeah.
Okay.
K5. I'm saying K6, K5.
After the year and then the right of refusal and so on, if there is a nonprofit or someone who wants to buy it or interested in any one of our properties, do they have to wait for the right of refusal, or are they able to?
So like on Dodd, once we got the waiver granted, I mean, we put it up for sale. So, like, the first offer came in from a private school. The second offer has come in from I believe it's a church that's interested in it. So, I mean, it becomes open to anybody at that point, so, yeah.
Okay.
So anybody could come in, I mean, any citizen or a nonprofit or whoever it might be at that point, so, but they have to put the statutory notice out there for the charter schools within your attendance zone to get it on their potential, so.
Okay, my
I
last
don't know if
question.
anybody's gonna come forward though.
Okay, my last question on Meadowcliff is, we did make that promise to that community, and we don't have any life in that building. And since it's so long and it's been stalled on what are we gonna do with that building, like whether we're gonna move some of our more transitional departments in there or do something with that building. So what is the position of the district? Are we not gonna honor that saying to the Meadowcliff community with not having it vacant? I know it's boarded up, but that
Yeah,
still makes it
I don't know if I
vacant.
can speak on that. That might have been a promise somebody else made. I know Medical Cliffs was one of those buildings we identified that needed a lot of work, so. But
And the
I don't,
superintendent, not this one.
I don't have any.
Okay.
Mr. Bailey? Mr. Bailey?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you give me, that law, where, you said it was 7 point whatever?
It references,
for-
I believe it references our policy, and that may be 7.13. If you go on our policy here, 7.1.3, let me see if it's at the bottom here. Well, there it is. Well, no, let's go.
Concerning charter schools having the first,
Right of refusal.
So it's gonna be one of these
have-
legal references down here. I can specifically find the one for you.
well, that's what I'm interested in.
Okay.
Cause I like to, read that.
Okay, will do.
Go ahead.
Oh, just, understand by law, we have to, provide the first right of refusal. Understand that. My question is that a lot of the decision-making process for the board dealt with the condition of that building. And is there not, I guess I'm a little surprised that there's not any caveat or, so we have to offer something for sale regardless of the condition, and is that, the plan is to offer it in the current condition?
Yeah, we don't plan on
Yeah.
spending money unless y'all, that wouldn't be my suggestion, because
Yeah.
we didn't,
And I guess I'm trying to word this carefully, but my understanding was that, I'll just stop there.
yeah.
Well, no, it's, the condition of the building was something that really went into decision-making about whether or not to keep that school open. So I'm a little surprised that it would then be put on the sales block for potentially being inhabited by other students.
Well,
But I
it could
guess-
be inhabited, you're just gonna have to spend some, I would think, spend some money to get it up to the point where you want, so it's a lot. If construction price right now is about 3-something a square foot, how much is it?
I don't,
But if they were building new? Yeah,
I mean,
so.
not if we're gonna have to offer first right of refusal, like, we don't need
Yeah.
to spend
We
our
don't
money
have
to
to.
renovate a building to offer, for sale.
But a charter school or a church or somebody that wanted a building, instead of coming in from the ground up, spending, say, $300 a square foot, they could probably renovate it for, just say, half of that amount, a square foot, $150 a square foot, or whatever it might be. So it gives you some ground, but it's gonna still be expensive, I think, probably.
And Southwest is so saturated with charters that is,
And I don't know if charter's gonna come forward or not, so, but we do have that, some period of just notice out there, so hopefully it doesn't have to last for 2 years.
Our timeline is March 1st.
That's when the published list will come out from the division, so yes, sir.
Any other questions regarding? All right. We got Mr. Yarberry. Are you doing a presentation, Mr. Yarberry?
He's gonna come up and answer some questions at least, so. So one of the other things you all wanted was an update as far as some of the status of some of the projects we had out there, and I think you all are, this is a pretty long list and it's gonna continue to grow. We have a Google Doc out there as well, so, if you hadn't got a chance to look at it, it's quite a bit going on right now. A lot of the stuff may not be the prettiest stuff you just see on the outside, maybe some of the guts of the building, the HVAC systems or whatever it might be, but you probably walked through some buildings and saw some flooring stuff, and maybe you'll see some new gym bleachers and different things like that throughout. I can make it a little bit larger for you all.
Thank you, because you know I'm aging.
It may cut off, it's small on my screen here too, so, but it may cut off the actual site over there. But just stroll through and kind of see some of the things here. And I'm gonna let Kevin talk to y'all about the real cool stuff, the new construction and the major renovations and stuff like that.
Yeah, Marion Lacey, when you get up, what's the progress? What's the status?
And I'm gonna let you talk about this.
Well, I guess just to answer that question, we're on schedule, and we're a little under budget right now. So we're going to continue to try to push that, and we have weekly progress meetings with our contractors and architects. So, and I don't just go by myself. We've got a group of folks that are assigned to be at that meeting, that weekly meeting, and so we've got more than one set of eyeballs on it. And so right now it's tracking very well. If you've not been by to look at it, it's something to see. I think that I heard some comments recently about how it's set so far back off of the street and you wouldn't really be able to see it, but if you drive by and look at that right now, I mean, it is really in your face. It's yeah. So it's coming along very well. Yes, sir. No surprises yet.
And those steps, you're able to see those collaborative steps from the street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my God, that's a lot of steps.
They're pretty substantial. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's one of my favorite design features in our schools are the collaborative steps.
So we do have one, well, I guess we can get all of them. So we're gonna hit Rockefeller. I think you all are aware Rockefeller is gonna be converted over, major renovation over there. So I think it's well overdue and well deserved. So Rockefeller is one of our open architecture schools where you really didn't have, you have some classrooms on there, but you got a lot of open space there similar to what was at, I guess Fulbright is semi-open, but Dive was totally open. So this is kind of, if you want to kind of show them this design here. And these are still, I guess, draft, right?
Yeah, it's still draft. You know, once we get to a point in design, I believe we've got to be 90% or better before we submit to the state for review. They've got to review it and approve it before we can move forward with, you know, getting a contractor plugged in financially. So there's a lot going on at Rockefeller. It's not really any part of the building that we're not touching. Maybe with the exception of the cafeteria / gym, we've already done some pretty significant work in there to kind of give that a facelift and make it a little bit more usable, a little bit more friendly. We've also done some pretty significant playground work as well on the outside. But these are just some renderings of what we've been, I guess, dreaming about really.
2 years now.
Yeah, so anyway, we're making pretty good progress on the design, and we're really, right now, we're trying to get, start turning dirt. That's just kind of a, so to speak, but we're actually anticipating starting this work this summer. And it will be a pretty lengthy process, and but we'll, I think we're looking at probably 12 to 18 months renovation time, so we're hoping to get back into, actually start using that building again as it will be intended for after that, so.
Dr. Wright, do we want to pull up anything on that West Little Rock, like the survey stuff?
I really, just the slides that shows the building features.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything on this one or not.
You have to just keep scrolling towards the end. starting there, yeah.
Now, I'm gonna ask a question about the architectural design for the renovation of the Little Rock Central.
Yes, sir.
So where's the status, what's the status of?
So we should be getting ready to send for state review. We're expecting that probably early this month, early to middle of this month. We have made progress on providing temporary classroom buildings. Those will be relocated with new buildings so that we can start the work where the current portable classrooms are. So that work we expect to start probably late April. We'll be developing the site to accommodate those new buildings. But the real good heavy lifting part of that project will start in June.
Since President went to Central, I guess I can pull it up real quick. And I'm gonna just.
Point of privilege.
All right. I had all these on one thing.
Is that it? Maybe that design draft?
Maybe I did. Yeah, that's it. Everything there.
So this is just a rendering of the, once the renovations or the construction is complete, this is an overhead view of what that looks like. Just kind of a 3D model there.
So you'd have the academic wing right here, it's finished, along with the field house, baseball field, new parking here. We'll go through this and kind of look at it a little bit, so.
That's the first floor of the field house. It's got an indoor practice field, weight room, plenty of storage, obviously football locker room, baseball locker room, some coaches' offices. We've also got wrestling locker rooms on this floor as well. This is the second floor. We've got 2 wrestling spaces. We've got a cheer practice room. We've got softball and soccer and cheer kind of sharing a space, locker room wise. They've got a team meeting room, which also can be used for special events or alumni type activities. One of the unique features about the building, you really can't see it too well here, is that the north facing part of that building actually has a ledge, if you will, for folks to be able to observe the game from the south end zone, much like what we've got at Little Rock Southwest. It might be a little larger. And then you're seeing the science wing here. This is the first floor. Most of this first floor is physics, obviously, and you see the first floor of we've got a lecture hall in this building as well. We've also provided restroom space to support the baseball field, because currently baseball doesn't have any restrooms for spectators or the team or anything else. So this was very close to the stands and the backstop, so it made sense for us to try to provide those spaces for that. Second floor, most of this is chemistry. Again, and this is the second level of the lecture hall. And this is the third floor, and most of this is going to be geared toward biology. We also have a robotics lab on this floor. And again, this is just an overhead view of what that looks like when it's complete. I think one of the things I wanted to point out too is that there's a space in between the new science building and the existing academic building. We're calling it the commons area, and it's a space for students to be able to eat their lunch if they want to study outside. It's kind of like a plaza area, if you will. It's a very useful outdoor space. Currently, some students eat lunch out there now, and it was important to them, to the staff and the principal over there, that we provide them with space to be able to have those kinds of activities. So,
And you all will get a full preview and everything before, when we bring the GMP to you as well. So we have architects and the construction manager here as well. So it'll be more renditions than this right here. So
yeah, when we bring the GMP to you
when it's finalized, yeah,
for approval, we'll be giving you a full presentation of the design, and we'll have professionals in the room to do that for you.
Two things.
I have a question. I have a question. Ms. Yarborough.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, of course, you all going kind of fast, and, now I can't even see it. But, where the parking lot, the new parking lot is going to be, you remember where Campus Inn used to be, okay? Like over there where the new parking lot is. What's going to be there? That's gonna be all parking?
It will be parking, yes, ma'am. That, we're intending that to be, staff and teacher parking.
Okay,
Evidently, staff parking is a pretty significant, challenge on that campus. And
Always has been.
yes, ma'am. So we,
I'm gonna make it,
Okay,
I'm gonna
this
make
is
it,
what
I'm
I
gonna make
wanna
it
see
large
right
for you, Miss
here.
Calloway.
Thank you.
Here's the fact
What floor is this?
first floor, right?
yes, this is the first floor, yes.
So those classrooms
Okay,
will be
that's near the
replaced right here.
cafeteria. Is that the first floor in the main building or?
No,
that
ma'am.
the science lab?
This is the first floor in the new, wing that we're building.
Okay. So you're only, going to have like 2 rooms?
We've got 3.
3. Oh,
Yes,
that's,
ma'am.
right on the other side?
Sewing classroom.
Yes, ma'am. You've got 2 classrooms and then a lab in the middle.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Do you see the sewing classroom?
Absolutely. But see, I hadn't seen this particular drawing, rendering or whatever before. And that's the reason why I'm asking these questions, because when I know where the fax folks were over there in the old Campus Inn, and I was just wondering, were they just gonna eliminate the fax program at Central?
No, ma'am, that was not something I don't think we were ever aware of. We always knew that we would need to either relocate those classrooms or provide space.
Well, they used to be on the 4th floor, which nobody really wants to walk up that many floors. But that's what I was interested in, is was that still going to be included?
Yes, ma'am.
And see, thank you very much for pulling that up, because that's exactly where I was going with that, because I couldn't see it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I can't read a blueprint. Okay. That was my question.
Okay.
Ms. Nolan?
Just very quickly, in these, you don't have to respond, just kind of keep it in mind as y'all move through this process. The things that I've heard over and over again from constituents about, specifically as to the Central project, are wanting to make sure that any addition matches the historical nature of the building. And the efforts we are making regarding security and safety are at the forefront when we design any new addition.
Those are 2 things that we have kept in mind. The architects have done a fantastic job of celebrating the design of the original academic building at Central. Now, just to be transparent, obviously we're not using a lot of the same materials, right? Those materials, some of them are almost impossible to procure and now in today's time. So, but I think that when you see the full presentation, you're going to see a lot of nods to the academic building and this building. There's a lot of similar features. But one thing we didn't want to do was take away from the brilliance of the original building, right? So there's a lot of similarities, and y'all will see that in the presentation.
So these are just teasers for you.
That's right.
All right. Ms. Hatter, Director Hatter?
Thank you. Okay, so you touched on my question, the historical factor, because it is the only operating school within the 400+ national park system. So it will not, and then I'm sure you're in conversations with the Department of Interior and the National Park Service.
Yes, ma'am. We actually had an official meeting with them regarding this project.
Okay.
So we got into that meeting, we gave them a presentation, we explained to them our intent, and frankly, their answer was, we don't really have any oversight or interest into what you're doing on that part of the campus. Now, they were appreciative of the presentation and the conversation, but we've had one meeting, and that's really all we needed, because it was really just we were trying to give a courtesy to be sure that there wasn't something that we weren't considering. But there are no concerns from the Park Service or from the historic groups.
Okay, and I just wanted to make sure that that was it, so it doesn't jeopardize
Yes, ma'am.
the overall United States interests within Central High by it being a part of the National Park System.
And I think, just to be clear too, I think the National Park Service, their main interest as far as the exterior elevations is literally what you see from Park Street. So it's the front elevation of the building.
Got it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Martin. Albert.
Sir, yes, sir.
We're gonna move,
No, good.
Was there any, we've had several public meetings for the new West Little Rock High School, but I didn't know, I think, do we need an update of that, the physical nature of that building?
I'd like to hear a little bit where they were going and just give an overview.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a general site plan. So the
Trying to go back the other way. But
they're all that way now.
I'm all the way there, huh? I'll go back. I didn't say this one on my.
So I think that's a good one to start with. So you've got some different colored boxes here, and just to kind of go over that, the light colored square is where the existing three-story building is. The yellow in the middle is the new academic wing. This will be 3 levels tall. And then you've got the dark blue is the auditorium, and the orange is the arena, the basketball arena. You've got some red between the arena and the football field too, because we do, there are some changes that are going to be made to the existing football stadium. It's just, it was not designed or built for high school standards, so we're going to have to provide some more room and some space and some accommodations. And obviously we've got a large parking lot to the north, as well as some parking to the north of the new buildings. And then of course we're showing a baseball and softball field as well. And that's just kind of some different ways that we've been breaking the building up. You can kind of see how the different spaces are carved out. One of the things I think that came out of some of the community meetings was about the 9th grade academy, and where we're at right now with that is that the academy will be in the existing 3-story. We will be doing some pretty heavy renovations in that building to accommodate that. But it makes sense to do that because our cafeteria it's kind of that gray area to the right of that. Yeah, right in there. That's the cafeteria. So it's kind of a common space between those 2 buildings and between the 2 programs.
And I did have something on that one, I think.
Ms. Yarborough,
I did say.
what I was looking at just now, West High School and Pinnacle View are going to be joined?
No, ma'am.
Cause like the orange, that's the current Pinnacle View, you said?
So the brown kind of to the left right there, that is Pinnacle View, but they are not joined.
Okay.
They physically are separate.
Okay, well, tell me, what is the orange one and the blue right there? It's next to the football field. I know what that is.
Yeah, so the orange is the basketball arena, and the dark blue is the auditorium, the fine arts building.
Huh.
Those are buildings that do not exist.
That's correct. The only buildings that exist at this point are the dark brown on the left, and the blue, the diamond shaped in the middle there. Those are the only 2 buildings that exist at this point.
Okay, I just did not realize that they would be that close together. I thought that these were somewhere completely different, but okay, I see it now.
And these are just some artist renderings of what we envision this to look like once it's complete. So, and believe it or not, the existing three-story is kind of to the left of that large structure. We really are just trying to make it its own. We're not trying to just we want it to look like our building. We don't want it to look like something that it used to be. So the architects have done a very good job of recreating that using existing structure and finishes.
Mr. Yarberry, with the ninth grade, with the existing building being renovated to be the ninth grade academy, and it's, that existing building is 3 levels, right? Or is
It
it
is, yes,
4?
ma'am.
Yeah. That waterfall in the middle, is that gonna stay there? That water fountain?
That's not been decided yet.
Okay. My actual question was, is the cost of that, is that part, where is the funds coming from to renovate that building? Because I don't remember that being a part of the conversation.
This will be part of
It's
the,
part of the whole overall project once we get the GMP, so yes.
Okay, and then what is the number of students, like the student body that is supposed to be in that building?
currently, I believe we're programming 1,200.
100, okay.
Yes.
And, okay, so we will, and the rezoning happens this year, right?
I don't know about that.
Okay, so, when that happens, we would need to remove the central zone, so it's not a double high school zone.
I have a question for you.
True.
We're ready to.
Okay.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's currently west or if it's currently Pinnacle View, but there is an agricultural focus.
That is
of one of the programs up
west,
there.
and I think it's an extension maybe of the east program that Pinnacle View has. I don't know if it's shared, but I think it's a transition thing from Pinnacle View maybe to west. But there is a urban agriculture thing happening there.
I thought it was an academy and a pathway, is what it
It's
was.
incorporated into all of
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah,
I mean,
and-
go ahead. Sorry, you know better than I do.
Because I know there was changing it up.
It's currently a pathway at the current Little Rock West School of Innovation. We went through a series of meetings with the community and various stakeholders to kind of get their feedback on what their academy choices will be. And we did come to some decisions, which I can't remember what they are, but that current pathway that's currently at Little Rock West School of Innovation can be embedded in one of the academies that were chosen by the community. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it can exist as a pathway underneath one of those academies that were chosen.
Was there student buy-in on that?
Mhm.
Their academy?
A lot of buy-in, especially from the current West students. But we also were very intentional about trying to get feedback from students who will be potentially coming to the school in the various elementary and middle schools that are around.
So the reason that I brought it up was because there's a lot of green space on this picture in front of us, and it just seems like a potential good fit for use with that agricultural program if that is something that y'all can,
Well, one, I
possibly
don't
plan
want
for?
to.
Yeah, okay.
I certainly don't want this rendering to skew what you. I don't want your opinion to be skewed about what you see there. So.
Okay.
So if we're talking east of the football stadium, for instance, all that green space, so behind the pond, that falls off dramatically. I mean, it is a dramatic
Okay.
decline, and then behind the pond is a dramatic incline up to the neighborhood above. So you've got a lot of elevation changes, significant elevation changes outside the perimeter of the project. In fact, for the baseball and softball field, that's going to have to be, a lot of site work has to take place to accommodate those to get that level enough for it to be an acceptable playing surface. And of course, the remaining green space is just what's required for us to provide, trees and grass and things that the city are going to require us to provide in a new project. So,
Well, I understand that there are a lot of decisions that have to go into this and that there are requirements like that. If there is any way to collaborate with that agricultural program and look at, in a regular school, we may and I say regular school without an agricultural focus, we may landscape things a certain way, but we may want to leave some of that
Well, certainly,
land available for use
so
with
that's
those
one thing
programs.
that we're very purposeful about. We're not, we don't try to assume that we know what they need and how they need it, right? So we will engage those folks to be sure that what space is needed and, you know, what that means exactly, and so we'll be sure to have those exercises. We do it with all of our.
The whole project.
Yeah, that's right. We've engaged all departments of the entire project.
The current students in that ag program have been extremely active in this process.
Yes,
So we are well aware of what their wishes are.
No doubt, no doubt.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the pond and the blue structure that's next to the pond?
I was closing it down.
So the pond is still another one of those things that is kind of up for debate, or I don't even know if it's up for debate, really up for decision about what's to become of the pond. Currently, it's pretty grown up. It's not real pretty, and obviously we can fix that. This design, originally, we envisioned that blue wedge next to the pond to be part of the CTE program. Now, we've since found where we've got space in the main academic building for that. So I'm not sure it makes sense to put another building out by the pond. It probably wouldn't be very cost effective for us to do that. But if we're to keep the pond, we will improve around the pond. Not real sure exactly what that means yet, but there are some options. We can drain the pond, we can keep the pond. Obviously, there's a lot of implications if we drain the pond, and there's a lot of work to be done as well to get us to that to get that approved. So
maybe a walking track or something.
That's right. That's right. Yes, ma'am.
And as agricultural, it may be a fisheries program that could be.
Could be, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna close it out unless y'all have more questions. All right. I know I've overstayed my welcome, so I'm getting out of here. Any questions, anything? I appreciate y'all attentiveness. Yep.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Kevin.
All right. Dr. Wright, we wanna move on to communications and community engagement.
Yep, so real quick, we know that as part of the board goals or an objective of the board in the past, there was a move to, there was an RFP, a marketing RFP specifically geared toward increasing enrollment. We have had many internal conversations about the initial intent of that RFP, and at this time, it is our recommendation that we do not move forward with that RFP as it was initially designed. We feel like we need some internal work done with regards to our communications, marketing, some branding things that we can do with our own internal communications department. And we know that we have some additional internal goals that we have as a district to kind of improve outcomes and do some other things before we head down the road of trying to hire an outside company to help us develop a marketing plan to increase enrollment. We believe that we need some internal work done before we go down this road, and so at this time we are asking or requesting or recommending that we don't move forward with that RFP and allow us to continue working on some internal things first.
Now, I see that it said that you were working with some external partners. Did you have some people in mind?
Possibly.
Okay, got it.
I move that the LRSD school board not move forward with the marketing RFP process.
Second.
There has been a motion by Director Johnson, a second by Director Wesley, to not move forward with the RFP presented with the marketing RFP process. All those in favor, say aye.
Can we have discussion?
Yeah, this is a discussion.
So I'm gonna trust our superintendent on this and let you handle internal things. What I would like to do is set a time frame to come back and revisit and talk about this issue, because increasing enrollment is obviously such a urgent need, and so I'm gonna vote yes, let you handle what you need to handle in-house, and then maybe let's set a 3-month something, window to come back, have the conversation again about where we are on plans for increasing enrollment.
Okay, so my question, just so I'm clear, so we're gonna go back and cast the net for an external partner?
No.
Okay.
So if I hear you correctly, basically you're saying there is some internal work that have to be done, because typically people are leaving our district because of campus experiences. And so you want to make sure that like you are doing what needs to be done internally before moving forward with such a grand, a bigger plan that have a large price tag to it.
Yes, and part of that plan involves some real deep grassroots community engagement stuff as we begin to think about our strategic long-term plan. Really getting some feedback from our community in terms of what they really want to see. So it's I just don't want to put the cart before the horse. Before we, yeah.
Thank you.
So what I'm hearing is you're working on the brand.
We're working on a number of things, including
developing the brand.
Yes.
Right.
That's right. You don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. You want it to heal so it'll be smooth and perfect, right?
Yes, and we want to. What I and what we as the team here, we don't want to do. We don't want to put out a marketing plan. Not say that we're going to false advertising, but we really want to. It's.
You want substance behind
Yes.
it and for it not to be vague.
Yes,
Gotcha.
and we want to be sincere in what we're doing, and we want to really,
Right.
yeah.
From the inside out. We get
Any
it.
other questions? Any other unreadiness? Huh? You don't want no more questions? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposers? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is policy, personnel, and legal. I'll let you present this, Dr. Wright.
Right, so we started this conversation 2 weeks ago, and I know that there has been a lot of internal and external discussion about this particular proposal about partnering with IAG for the purpose of recruiting international teachers. And I've heard from quite a number of people, internal and external, and I know that there are real, valid, true concerns about moving forward with this partnership. And I just want to be clear and say that the only concern that I've heard that I feel like that we can't adequately and effectively address if the board gives us approval to move forward with this is the concern around cost. All the other concerns around cultural barriers, language barriers, all those things I feel can be effectively mitigated when we go through the interview process, when we go through the screening process. We know, especially in some of our schools that have the most needs, we know that we don't want to set those schools up for failure by hiring teachers who may present more barriers for students than benefit. And so I feel like with the teacher shortage that we are experiencing in our district, I just really feel like we need every tool available at our disposal to be able to mitigate these challenges. I do want to also note that, so as I was looking through, they actually just published a list of teachers that are available through IAG, and I was very interested in the fact that there are like 10 right now who are termed as language teachers. And these are teachers who teach English to students who speak other languages. And as you know, we have a growing ELL population in our district, and we currently do not have many and in some schools, any ESOL teachers who can really help us meet our level 1 and level 2 and our level 3 ELL students. There are specific teachers in this network who are from some of the countries where we have a lot of student populations represented in our schools, and I feel like this can really give us a pool of folks to look at and screen and vet. And that pool currently does not exist right now in our district. And so I just don't want us to close ourselves off of any potential opportunity for us to find quality teachers who may be a good match for our school, especially in hard to staff areas. And so I've heard the concerns. I am in agreement with every concern that I have heard. But again, I just want to stress the fact that we will screen, we will interview, we will find, if we find a teacher who is a good fit for any of our schools, then we may move forward with it, but if not, we won't. But again, I don't feel like we should cut ourselves off from any potential source of finding teachers for our district, especially when we've been unable to fill so many of them.
Director Hatter?
I know this was brought up last time. I think Director Nolan is the one who brought it up. Have we, those 22 positions that is trying to be filled, have the district advertise those positions at the cost that we would end up paying International Alliance Group? At the salary that we will pay the International Alliance Group. So, because that's...
I'm not sure.
I can clarify. So we're talking about the regular salary for that position plus a roughly 20% charge, 20 to 25% to International Alliance Group. The suggestion I made last time was we offer the 20 to 25% as additional salary or a bonus to a potential applicant to fill that position, so that we're paying the same amount, but that money is going to the teacher instead of going to the consulting firm.
So no, we have not done that. Yes, we can. In addition, I think I had to leave last board meeting, but I went back and listened to some of the suggestions and ideas that were mentioned, alternatives. I believe we should pursue, and we are going to pursue, a couple of things that I heard. We're actually looking at, and it was brought up today, ways in which we can encourage or provide incentives for teachers within our district to go back and get their SPED certification. So we're exploring those particular options. And so there's nothing that's going to be off the table in terms of us trying to fill these particular positions.
Okay. So when the gentleman from International Alliance Group was zoomed in, he said that there's only 500 visas, and that he's working with, the agency is working with over 100 school districts. So there's no guarantee that we would get a teacher from this group. So I know you said that you saw some teachers that are that like it will be maybe a good fit for the district. So my question is, have conversations been had with the agency about guaranteeing teachers? Or are we, like he said, competing with 100+ districts across the country for what they only have 500 visas, so 500 people?
So there will be close to 1,000 teachers in this particular pool. I think that was 500 visas in addition to others, from what I understood. But there's no guarantee. There is no guarantee, and we only pay if we hire somebody. So there's no, the guarantee is us screening, interviewing, finding a match that's good for our district, going through the hiring process, and then we pay. But of course they can't guarantee us anything, because we have to select and choose and find the teachers that will be good fit for us.
Okay. And will we pay for their J1 visa as well, and all of their
all of that's handled through the company.
Okay.
Our cost is the teacher salary plus the 25%.
Director Adams?
Yes, I'm willing to make a motion that the LRSD board approve the administration's request to enter into an agreement with IAG to recruit teachers for LRSD.
Second.
Motion made by Director Adams, second by Director Johnson to approve. Any questions? You have unreadiness?
Question.
Question? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. This is going to be a lot, people. I feel, my opinion. What level are we bringing these people in on, like, as far as teacher pay? Because this is what I've got from a lot of teachers. As far as bringing somebody from out of the country. And is there another way that you could hire another firm that would be interested in helping us out other than out of the country? We're the state government is cutting our funds. They're going to, possibly, not guaranteed, but I just don't it doesn't look good if we just start them in, let's say, making more than the first year teacher. And we give them all these perks. And be that as it may, I will be voting against this. And so I don't want to not register my vote, but I will definitely be voting against this because I think it's going to open up a can of worms that I don't think we really need to deal with because we got enough. I wish we could find people, but I don't think everything's been exhausted. I don't know because I'm not out in that arena right now. But there are companies that have a tendency to, other than leaving the country. I don't feel good about that at all, so I will be voting against that this motion, and I want to be counted for voting against it.
Director Adams, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment in support of the motion. The rationale that Dr. Wright has made to me is compelling, that this is not a risk of our funding at this point. We are not compelled to hire anybody that we don't feel good about who could come in and serve our students. And the concern I have is we just have students who have gone for too long without a certified teacher. And if we can find a certified teacher, perhaps we could even bring some particular skills that we have a hard time finding. We're not displacing a teacher, a domestic teacher, in order to bring in someone from another country. We are serving the students that we have who are now being underserved, and if we're able to do that, and if we can find someone. So because of that, I am in support of this recommendation.
Just one thing, if I may. It just appears to me that we are exploring options, and this is yet another option. It is not to say that we will choose this option. Perhaps there will not be, applicants that we're interested in or that we desire to hire, so there would not be funds pushed in that direction. Further, I believe that I heard the superintendent indicate that he has not explored every option as it relates to the current, faculty, staff, and he will be moving in that direction. So it appears that we are, motivated to move in that direction, but we desire to have more options. And I think options is always a good thing, most often.
Director Nolan? Director Nolan?
So I just wanted to briefly say, I will be voting against it. I want to be transparent that I received contact from constituents. 100% of it was opposed to this plan. And so I also want to say to everyone who's watching and, following this, although I will be voting against it, I can clearly see that it is a good faith effort to fix a problem that we have to fix somehow or another. And so while I would really like to see us, if we are gonna spend this additional money, spend it in a way that goes directly to the teacher, and uses that as a recruitment tool, I understand that one way or another, we have to get certified teachers in these positions.
Director Callaway? You're
I
finished?
think I've stated, I will be voting against it. I realize it's just an option, and I appreciate, the effort and everything to fill those spaces. I think that we do need we need the teachers, no doubt, because we're having them leave for whatever reason. And, but I cannot support hiring somebody from another country. And I realize that there are people in the United States now that are currently from other countries, and maybe even in this district, who are here on visas. But actively recruiting someone, I have a problem with that, and with the people that I've spoken with, they have a problem with it too. So I will be voting against it, but then again, I've already said that, so.
Yes, ma'am. Director Wilson?
Yes, I just want to speak in favor of this motion, because there's not a pool of out-of-work teachers that want to come work here that we're stepping over or ignoring. The positions that are hard to fill in our district are hard to fill coast to coast, top to bottom. So we're not just competing for teachers in Central Arkansas. This is a nationwide issue. And so I absolutely support this as an option, because I trust that our Human Resources Department is going to do their due diligence. And if we have a good candidate in front of us, that's who we're going to select. Thank you.
Any other discussion? So all those that are in agreement with the motion, would you please raise your hand so Jesse can count the votes? All those against the motion, raise your hand. Add Director Callaway. It passed. Jesse, what was the count? 5-4? So the motion passes. All right. Board resolutions. Ms. Walker, do you have? Oh, that's Ms. Nolan. Oh.
Yes, so your board packet has a copy of the resolution that I submitted, and I don't know, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. Let me see if I can pull it up if we wanna talk about it. Generally, the idea here is that we are into the legislative session. I think everyone is aware that education issues are at the forefront of what is happening at the Capitol right now. And we have talked in the past about really needing to actively take a role in advocating for the best interests of our students, our staff in the district in terms of legislation. And so I have drafted a resolution. What it would do, let me see if I can pull it up. Here we go. So what it would do would be to allow either the board president, the legislative liaison, or a designee, so someone designated for that purpose, to speak on behalf of the board as a whole on very specific issues just during this legislative session. And in the resolution, it specifically says, and I'll read this part, it says, we specifically authorize the board president, legislative liaison, or the designee to advocate for the appropriation of additional state funding to increase teacher pay statewide and fund universal access to high-quality public pre-K programs, and advocate against policies that would harm our students by diverting public education funding to private schools, censor the teaching of accurate American history or valuable works of art or literature, or target our lesbian, gay, transgender, or non-binary students or staff for harassment and discrimination. Beyond that, it allows the board president, the legislative liaison, and the superintendent to meet and discuss other areas of advocacy if there is unanimous agreement about what is in the best interest of the district, what type of advocacy is in the best interest. It would allow the board president, the legislative liaison, or a designee to then go to the Capitol and speak on behalf of the board and the district as a whole in that process. If there is not unanimous agreement, there is no authority to do that. It requires a board vote on those issues. So it expires at the end of this legislative session. I think that kind of covers what it does. And you know, at this point, we have talked about this several times. You know, either there is support to do it or there's not. You know, I don't know that we need to have a prolonged debate or discussion. I hope that we could do this and take an active role, but all of us in our own individual capacity are always able to go and advocate and speak on behalf of ourselves. This is simply about being able to speak on behalf of the entire board for issues that impact the district as a whole.
Okay.
Any questions?
I do. Yes. Then I understand what you're saying, but this goes against the public voting for each of us to be on this board. Each of us is able to speak from our elected capacity. So because we are elected school board, they're going to automatically listen anyway. And this resolution puts 2 board members to say that they're speaking right for the entire board. That is not a democratic process. That is not the way that this board works. Like, it shouldn't be the way that it works. Now, if the board passed this 5 or more, then that would be them blindly giving their voice away. And as far as speaking, any elected official, you don't even have to put the statement, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. As an elected official with the Little Rock School District, I'm speaking in my elected capacity. And so we don't need this resolution to have 2 board members, because the superintendent can't even speak right for the board. So to have that there and for the other 7 members to give away their elected capacity, I'll use the colleagues' words, that does a disservice not only to the other 7 that are elected, who can go up there and speak, who could go and give news interviews on topics, whether the board have decided on something or not. The president is able to speak on things that we have voted on as a majority. And then I think that, like I said, it diminishes the board, because you're saying, because this resolution would be saying that this is the stance of the board. We all know, and everybody knows, that we are the most inclusive district around. We are a civil rights district. This is what we do. We stand on this front line when others don't want to speak first. That's just what Little Rock School District have done since 1869. Like, this is what we do. So I won't be voting for this, because I don't believe in this is like option 2 on the ballot. No, and then right where we was gonna, right where the legislator wanted a small minority of the legislative assembly to speak for the entire body. And now we're asking for this to happen at the board level. We can all speak right to the legislators. And the fact that it's 2 board members and the superintendent deciding on what the board is deciding, I can't vote for that, and then it goes against why we are elected.
Any
Very briefly, we're not gonna have to go back and forth. I will just say, everything that you can do, every board member can do right now, they could do after this was passed. It does not take away anybody's ability to go speak as an elected official. You hit the nail on the head when you said the board president can speak on things we have voted on as a group. But we can't always convene and vote on something within the very short time frame before it would come up in committee to speak on at the legislature. This preemptively lays out, here are some things that we have already decided that we're gonna advocate for and we're gonna advocate against. And we are voting on them tonight so that we will be prepared when those go to committee.
But that's the role of an elected official. Every person who decided to get on the ballot, whether or not they decided or someone asked them or they was encouraged to get on the ballot, they decided to be a political figure. That's their every 9 member on this board, that's their job, to pay attention to what's going on in the legislature. It's not our job to rely on 1 or 2 people to go and advocate and speak right to the legislator. It defeats the purpose of running for office. Like, I get it. I get it. There is a lot of things that are on the legislative agenda, as well as our censoring history, to attacks on our LGBTQ plus population of students, to the defunding of education with the voucher program. Like, there's a whole bunch of things on there, but it's everybody's job to contact legislators regardless of what party they're in. And if people are not comfortable with doing that, and then, like, maybe they need to check whether or not this political position, this elected volunteer political position that we spend countless of hours, regardless if the state recognize our professional development hours all the way or not, we still have a duty not only to our district, not only to our students and our staff, but also to our stakeholders to engage politically and not be afraid and not the lead get scared.
Director Adams?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion and then speak to that motion if we get a second. I've moved that the LRSD School Board approve the resolution authorizing advocacy on behalf of the LRSD Board during the 2023 legislative session of the Arkansas General Assembly.
I second.
So Director Adams made the motion, Director Wilson seconded. Any other discussions?
Yeah, I would like to just speak to that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mason. 2 points, really. One is, thank you, Ms. Nolan, for putting this together. To me, this is very thoughtful and helpful. It's helpful that there are some of those issues that already are before this with the legislature that we can decide that as a district, that if there's opportunity, we could speak as a district on, such as issues around protecting our students and teaching and those issues. The other is, I would second, I think that there's nothing in this that prohibits any of us, just as has been said, from doing the strong advocacy job that you described, Ms. Hatter. I think that everybody can still do that as they will. And I have faith in our president and legislative liaison and Dr. Wright, that if there's any concern at all, that there's an issue that comes up that needs prompt advocacy for, that if we think there'd be dissension or division on the board, that you wouldn't do that. But if it's something that you all know us well enough, that if it's something that's quick and needed and there's a short window of opportunity, I trust that we've been together for 2 years now. You know us well enough that if we would feel strongly and support something, I think you could do that, and I would give you grace if you made a little bit of a bad call, but I don't think it's going to happen because I think you know us well enough. So I feel comfortable with this, and I think it's a reasonable plan.
Director Callaway, you had your hands up?
He can speak for himself. He can't say other people know other.
Can't hear you. You're muted.
That's just a disturbance.
Okay, I'm sorry. Actually, I thought that was the job of the legislative person to speak. In that she can bring the information back to us, but I guess we never just sit down and talk about what her actual job. I assumed it would be to speak on the behalf of the district, the board. Now, the things that she's outlined so far, I understand that, you know, but I thought that was your job. And I don't have any problem with having at least two people, but I'll call my legislature, my representative every time I get ready, because, and complain, and then we know each other well enough that if I'm really that far against something, I would call you, or you could just email us and or something. I don't want to be brought in for every little thing. The things that you have mentioned so far, I agree with. You know,
All right.
I don't feel like I'm giving away my power. I think that someone has to speak for all of us.
All right. Any other?
Or someone or some two people. But I don't think that's giving away your power.
All right.
That's my opinion.
Yes, ma'am.
I won't be supporting it. I feel like we are a board. We were elected officials. I don't think that a resolution is necessary. I feel strongly that before any of us can go to the state capitol to talk, we have to sit and talk about it and agree that that is something that somebody needs to do. Now, I'm not a designee, I am a volunteer. So if we have that discussion and somebody wants to go and speak to the legislator, I feel like that person should do that. You may not be available, Dr. Wright may not be available, Ms. Nolan may not be available, Ms. Hatter may be available. So I feel strongly that we don't need this, and whatever person is available to go to deal with whatever issue we need to deal with, I think that person should have the right to do so. So no, I can't support it.
All right. Any other discussion? So by a show of hands, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hands. Director Calloway, your hands up? Yes, ma'am.
My hand is up.
Okay. All those against the resolution, raise your hands. This morning, did you vote?
Yeah.
You can't have two.
For the first round.
Oh, okay, I didn't see. Okay, all right. What is the count, Mr. Lee? 6 to 3. The motion? The motion carries 6 to 3. Thank you all. All right. We off to board comments. Moving on. Comment?
I have a comment. We have been contacted late this evening by quite a few LRSD students asking us to speak up in support of lesbian, gay, trans, and non-binary students all across the state. And so I want to use this moment and this platform to say, in LRSD, you are welcome, you are valued, and you are a cherished part of our community. Thank you.
Director Adams.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment. Second that. I just want to, I was sitting here looking at the architectural drawings of the proposed West Little Rock High School, and I was feeling really grateful for a board 10 years ago or so who bought land, which is now Southwest High School, and which bought land which will be the West Little Rock High School. And that was not an easy process to get to, and was not without criticism. And it just reminded me that sometimes the things we do, you don't see the results of for a long time. But people made decisions for that group, you know, years ago, and it paid dividends and it invested, and there are benefits later, and the things that we do now will lay some groundwork and foundation, and there'll be benefits that we'll have no idea about. But we will plant seeds that will be harvested many years from now, and I really appreciate that kind of work.
Let me say just one little caveat about every day that when I wake up, I go to work, and what I do every day is fight for everyone to have a house, wherever, a home, a house, land, to purchase, to rent, wherever they want to go. And it is based on race, color, national origin, sex, religion, persons with disabilities, and families with children. That's what I do every day. I've been doing that for 22 years, and I will continue to fight for persons in that protected class, which includes everyone in this room, and I support persons of all races, colors, sex, and I do not discriminate. Director Hatter.
I wanted to make a comment about the solar, since we keep talking about it. I think it would be wise, makes sense for, at some point during this year, for us to talk about what's the plan, because the district doesn't have a, like how many emissions are we trying to reduce it by. We don't have a plan. We just keep throwing out that we need to put solar panels out there without having a comprehensive plan, much like the gentleman from the department spoke about, is that first you should have a plan before you put out a RFP or have a goal of what we're trying to do. And so that is something I want to throw out there. And of course, you know, again, we are being called on to speak and to stand on a very controversial issue. Soon enough, where someone's going to ask us about what do we think about and then our history classes, and we're going to stand. Like, you can't lead scared. You can't speak scared. I mean, at some point, you just have to square up and just say what it is and stand on principle and moral. And of course, if anyone was to ever come after our students, of course we're going to stand. I know for a fact, you know, me and Allie, we've stood in very controversial situations, and we didn't bow and we didn't blink, because that's just part of what we do as public servants. So we will always support our gay, lesbian, binary, transgender community. We'll always support our students of different ethnicities. We will never be anti-Black. We will never be any of these things that is being used for fear. So I'm glad that we have a board that is inclusive. I'm glad that we have a board that will speak, even if we disagree on things passionately. At the end of the day, we will move as a unit, as the way that the majority says. And so, to all of our students in LRSD, y'all ain't gotta worry, because you got a board that is gonna back you the same way we did stood up right for the teachers, the same way I stood on the scratch line for our teachers and others. And the other thing is, lastly, to our youth out there in Conway that is being disrespected by their board, I'll say it, then our hearts are with you. And then I hope that some level of resolve come. Then I hope that they get the fierce fire that like Little Rock had, and still have to, for that community to stand up for their kids. And so with that, I just think that that just goes to the fabric of the LRSD, to those 9 stars around our crescent, that like we speak up when others don't always feel comfortable to speak up. So I do appreciate my colleagues, even though I don't agree all the time with them.
Ms. Wesley, Director Wesley, sorry.
Just one, no problem. Just one last thing I just want to leave with you guys. It just leaves me with this, one of my very favorite quotes, and it says, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." And to me, that is what's pivotal, that we stay focused on what lies within us. And I love that we may have banter, we may have different ideas, different, diversity, but we come together, and I really applaud the fact that we don't come together with contention like we once have. And, just to be completely transparent, that is improving, and we must be leaders and demonstrate that in our walk, especially as we lead. So I just applaud us all and hope that that will be something that we'll kind of, embrace it in our fabric.
Superintendent Wright.
I'll make this very brief. The only thing I want to add is that to our students and staff, you not only have a board who supports all of our staff and students, but you also have a superintendent who does the same. I just want to make sure that I was included because I felt left out.
Right, because I wanted to add my speech.
Director Callaway, Director Callaway, Director Callaway.
I agree with what's been said. The only thing that concerns me are all of these resolutions that the governor has signed in since she's been since January 10th, and that we might end up in a real serious. And I don't mind being in a serious situation as far as this is concerned, because I support students. But I just want to say that we need to take into mind what has been, and the resolutions don't necessarily have to be law, but we have that fight coming, everybody, and I really want us to think about it. However, I agree with all of you. I want all of these people to feel comfortable. Everybody, I don't care who you are or what you are or what you think about, I want everybody to feel comfortable coming to the Little Rock School District. Okay? But I just want to put that in about the resolutions.
Nobody said nothing about my editorial. Okay.
Because
Shout out to Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mason, for your wonderful.
Thank you, Mr.
It
Mason.
was great.
It was great.
Absolutely.
All right.
And I guess I can wrap it up with my testimony, my story. The other day, I had read this post and everybody was talking about people who have a Navy Federal bank account think they're some kind of secret society. So naturally, I was like, wow, okay, what's going on with Navy Federal? Let me see if I can get an account, right? So I went to the website, and it asked me these questions. It said, are you a veteran? Are you in the military? Are you related to somebody? I'm like, no, because unbeknownst to me, you have to be a part of the military to have one of these accounts, right? Did y'all know that?
Yeah.
I didn't. I didn't.
Or a family member.
Right? Yeah, so
you have to be a family member.
I said, who do I know? And I instantly thought about my sister. She's in the military. She's in the Army. And I said, Tasha, do you have an account? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, my sister is responsible, I said, let me get your access number so that I can get me an account too. She gave me the number. I went back to the website. I put it in, and it said, congratulations, you're eligible. And y'all know I was so happy. I was so happy that I was eligible to get an account with Navy Federal secret society. And then it dawned on me, wow, the only reason I was able to get an account was because of my connection to somebody who was already connected. So in this season, I just want to encourage everybody to realize that there is so much value in relationships, because it is only through your connection to somebody else that you may be eligible to access the membership of the abundance that you deserve. Amen. Hallelujah. Praise God. I'm out.
That's right.
Y'all supposed to clap.
Oh, yeah.
We would say pass the plate, pass the plate.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
We are adjourned.